Honorable members, prayers. Almighty God, we humbly beseech thee to look with favor upon this Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. Grant that it may perform its high duty as in thy sight. Give divine guidance to the President of the Republic. Endow members of Parliament and ministers of state with discernment and vision, integrity and courage, that through the labors of government, this land and people may be well and truly served, and that good human life be realized in our midst. Amen. O God, grant us a vision of our country, fair, a country of righteousness, where none shall wrong his neighbor, a country of plenty, where evil and poverty shall be done away with, a country of brotherhood, where all success shall be founded on service, and honor shall be given to the deserving, a country of peace, where government shall rest on the will of the people, and the love for the common good. Bless the efforts of those who struggle to make this vision a living reality. Strengthen our people, that they may give time, thought, and sacrifice to speed the day of the coming beauty of Ghana and Africa. Amen. Honorable members, we commence with item 3, correction of votes and proceedings, and official report. We start with the correction of votes and proceedings of Tuesday, 23rd March 2021. Sorry, it's Monday, 22nd March, not Tuesday. Monday, 22nd March, 2021. Page 1. Yes, Honorable.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it does appear that we don't have a quorum. A cursory glance at the numbers in the chamber clearly shows that we don't have a quorum, both on the majority side and the minority. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm coming under. Yes, I'm coming. All right. I'll go to that, sir. Please. Please. I'll get the code. I'll get the order. Mr. Speaker,
yes.
I will repeat again. It is order 48. The presence of at least 1/3 of all members of Parliament, besides the person presiding, shall be necessary to constitute a quorum of the House. Mr. Chairman, come again.
Honorable members, member has taken notice of the number of members present in the chamber and has raised an objection in terms of Order 48. 1. Now, when you read Order 48.2, and I'll read it, it says, if at the time of sitting, a member takes notice or objection that they are present in the House besides the person presiding less than 1/3 of the number of all the members present, and after an interval of 10 minutes, a quorum is not present, the person presiding shall adjourn the House without question put until the next sitting day. And so I would direct that the bell, as usual, be rung, because we have 10 minutes interval to make up for the loss in numbers. If after the 10 minutes we don't get the 1/3 quorum, I have no option than to comply terms of the standing orders, which says the person presiding shall adjourn the House without question put until the next sitting day. So please, Marshal, ensure that the bell is rung, and we have 10 minutes to make up for the loss in numbers. In the meantime, honorable members will proceed with the work of the House. Votes and proceedings. Yes, Minister for Defense.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I know you have made, not you personally, I know the speakers have made a ruling, but I want to passionately appeal that we may have to revisit that ruling. I know that the speakers have taken the position that if you are not physically present, even when you are within the presence of Parliament and attending to committee meetings, they should mark you absent. It's part of the problem we face ourselves now. Because, Mr. Speaker, I have been marked absent, and it will come and you will see I've been marked absent. But the entire day of yesterday, I was in Parliament attending to the invitation of the Committee on Defense and Interior to consider the estimates of the Ministry of Defense. But I've been marked absent. Of course, I understand because of the ruling that has been done. I couldn't come here to be able to do that because we started around 9:30. By the time Parliament was there, I couldn't get up because I had to be there throughout, and we closed after 3 when Parliament had adjourned. Now, Mr. Speaker, it's the problem that we now face. So many committees are sitting in Parliament. So many. If the whips are able to get the chairman to suspend what the committees are doing, they'll be here, and the chamber will be full. But to what end? To really what end? So I know that the member has the right to observe and raise quorum. But to what end? All we can do is that, or what we end up doing, Mr. Speaker, is that committees will not work. And it will be the same thing that will because if the whips get the chairman to suspend, there will be quorum. But at any time that the committees decide to go back, we will not have quorum again. So, Mr. Speaker, I think that to resolve this problem, maybe we have to look at the ruling again. Seriously. Otherwise, at the time that members will be at committee meetings, specifically, to be doing the work, especially with the time constraint we have, we also have the same problem of members having to come to sit in the chamber throughout till somewhere 3. So maybe leadership may have to find a way of resolving this problem before it becomes a big problem. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, my attention has been drawn to the fact that one of our colleagues, the Honorable Proceedings, have raised this matter of quorum. But Mr. Speaker, probably as leaders, we have a duty to support you in the governance of the House. This morning, while probably you are at conclave, a meeting was scheduled for the constitutional body's budget estimate processes, Shiraj, Audit Service, and others. I had to stand on his behalf together with about 12, 14 members to hear the estimates for Shiraj. Even as I speak, members are already seated waiting for me for Audit Service. But once I noted you entering, I said I should come and formally announce my presence. Yes, it is our rule. But Mr. Speaker, in these times, knowing that we are considering budget estimates and many of the committee's scheduled meetings at 9 a.m., 9:30, 10:30 a.m., probably we felt we should have come to you to say that you should hold on until 12 before the House could even start sitting. We not you. So once we didn't and he has moved it, Mr. Speaker, I can assure you that there are many members within the presence of Parliament who are conducting the business of Parliament with the budget hearing. And probably, if you suspend sitting for 30 minutes or an hour, many of them probably may be able to join us, Mr. Speaker. But,
honorable members, I said we'll move on for 10. If we are unable to get the quorum, I'll abide by the tenets of the standing order. The earlier rulings of the speakers still stand. Attendance at the committee meeting does not constitute attendance of Parliament. You have to come to the floor and be recognized and noted as having attended the proceedings. And then you can proceed to your committee meetings. And so that is still the state of the law. And I'll go by that. So we will proceed with the business for the next 10 minutes. And I'm sure by then we'll get the quorum. If we are unable to get the quorum, the House will automatically adjourn without the question being put by me. So please, the whips should do their work, get the members from the committee meetings to come to plenary, and then after that, you are entitled to go to consider the estimates from the various sectors. That is what our standing orders say, and I can't do otherwise. So we'll proceed. Page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Page 6. Page 7. Yes, Honorable Ablakwa.
Most grateful, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, at page 7, item number 3, we have drawn attention to the table office consistently that our colleague, the Honourable Dr. Augustine Tewia, is absent with permission. And so if the records will be corrected accordingly. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, we'll cross-check to see whether it has been renewed, because it was for a specific period. We know the state in which he is, and so maybe the leadership will have to look at it and repeat the application for leave so that we can renew it. If not, it has lapsed. It was for a period. It was not everlasting. Page 8. Page 9. Yes, Honorable Blackwell.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, please, the fourth paragraph of item number 6 at page 9, the last line, the word article is missing. Article 1242 of the Constitution. As
Table office, take note. Page 10. Page 11. Page 12. Yes, Honorable Fojo.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. On page 12, item number 4, under paragraph 2, my surname has been spelled wrongly. The right rendition is on page 8, item number 18. Thank you.
Table office, take note. Item 2, Roman number 4. His name, the same name is wrongly spelled. Fojo is wrongly spelled. Page 13. Yes, Honorable Blackwell.
Please, Right Honourable Speaker, item number XX. Our colleague at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, the name is Joshua, Mr. Joshua Jomina Ajekum. So it should be captured accurately. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Table office, kindly take note. Page 14. Page 15. Page 16. Page 17. Page 18. Honourable Member, are you up on your feet? Yes? Yes.
Honourable Speaker, please, sorry to take you back a bit on page number 10. Item.
Honourable Member, kindly approach the table office with that correction.
Okay, thank you.
Page 18. Honourable Members, the votes and proceedings of the 28th sitting of the first meeting of the first session held on Monday, 22nd March 2021 as corrected are adopted as the true record of proceedings. Honorable members, official report. I have a copy of the official report of Tuesday, 9th February 2021 and Tuesday, 2nd March 2021. We start with the 9th February 2021. Any corrections? Yes, Ablakwa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I don't know about honorable colleagues, but I saw only the 9th February in my pigeonhole, Mr. Speaker. But I note, Mr. Speaker, that at column 007 of the 9th February 2021 official report, the first paragraph at column 007, the last line, it should be serve. We have had Lieutenant General J.B. Dankwa serve in that role instead of serve. It should be serve in that role. First paragraph of column 007, the last line. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Table office, I'm sure you got the correction. It's not past tense, no. Serve. Any other correction? Honorable members, the official report of Tuesday, 9 February 2021, as corrected, represents the true record of proceedings. I'm informed by Honorable Ablakwa that members don't have copies of the official report of Tuesday, 2nd March 2021. Is that the case? You have 2nd March 2021. Any correction? Honorable members, in the absence of any corrections, the official report of Tuesday, 2nd March 2021 is hereby adopted as the true record of proceedings. Honorable members, item 5 on the order paper. At the commencement of public business, item 5. Yes, Honorable Majority Chief Whip.
Speaker, thank you. Speaker, I want to appeal to you if we can rather take item 6B instead of as the item 5 as directed by a good self.
Honorable member, the reason for that, why should I vary the order of business and move from item 3 to item 6B instead of item 5?
Speaker, I've engaged the leadership, and we've come to some agreement that we should rather take item 6B as a first item for the day. And so it's a collective decision from leadership, Speaker.
Well, I'm guided by leadership, but item 5 is also similarly one of laying. But we'll take the laying, item 6, then we'll come back to item 5. There's no problem. We just need to have the quorum and to proceed with business. Item 6, presentation of papers, 6B, by the chairman of the Committee on Transport.
Report of the Committee on Roads and Transport on the annual budget estimates of the Ministry of Transport for the year ending 31st December 2021.
Honorable members, I can't see the chairman of the committee. My brother, there is a time for bowing. And so when the time comes, I look around to see the chairman standing and bowing. I didn't see that. Honorable members, the report has been laid accordingly and is for distribution to members of the House. Yes, available leader, which other one? I can go back to 5 now.
Speaker, shall we again, with your kindness, Speaker, if you may permit, we should take item motion number 9 on page 8 of the order paper, Speaker. Motion number 9 on page 8 of the order paper.
Honorable members, let's take the laying of the petitions. Then from there we can go to the motions. Item 5, presentation of petitions. The following petitions to be presented by the honorable member for Boku Central, Honorable Mahama Ayarga. 5A.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Order 76 of our standing orders, I present a petition on behalf of Prince Kofi Amuabeng, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, with your kind permission, I wish to lay the petition at the table.
Petition of Mr. Prince Kofi Amuabeng that Parliament 1 investigates the conduct of the Bank of Ghana and the Ghana Stock Exchange for the revocation of UT Bank's license and delisting the bank without due regard to the rules of administrative justice guaranteed under Article 23 of the 1992 Constitution. 2. Direct the restoration of the banking license of UT Bank Limited by the Bank of Ghana and the remedying of the harms done to the shareholders' properties right as a result of the conduct of the Bank of Ghana. 3. Gives any other directive that Parliament may deem appropriate.
Yes, honorable member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, may I refer you to Standing Order 75-2 and Standing Orders 93-1. That
Honorable member, 75 deals with papers.
Papers.
What we are talking about is petition.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
They are not the same.
Very well. Then I'll hold my horses there. I thought he was presenting a paper.
No.
I didn't hear the petition.
It's petition.
Very well. Then I'll come back when we get.
You come back properly.
Now, Mr. Speaker, I'll come back after reading those petitions and ask you to consider, if, Mr. Speaker, may I be guided, if he's finished reading those petitions as contained in paragraph number 5 of today's order paper, whether the table has finished reading those petitions.
Honorable Member, please kindly read Order 76 properly. What the Honorable Member opted to do is to go under 76(1). Where the petition is brought to the table by the direction of the Speaker. He hasn't moved, so he just laid it. I will now proceed to tell the House how are we going to handle the petition. Do we set up a committee to go through it and report to the House? Then a motion will be moved. Consideration will then begin from then. But now a citizen has a concern, and the citizen thinks that he should petition Parliament, and that is what the citizen has done. And so when by our rules a citizen is to petition Parliament, it must be done through a member of Parliament. And so when you go through the member of Parliament, the member has two options. One, to come through the direction of the Speaker and lay it, or two, after the admission of the Speaker, to go through the process of a motion. And so he opted 76(1). I now put the question before you as to how we should handle that petition. We set up a committee to go through it and report to the House for consideration. Our rules are quite scanty on that, and we have to work out the process and procedure of handling petitions. I think we are trying to do it with the new standing orders, but as at now, the rules are quite scanty. Yes, Honourable Member.
Mr. Speaker, I respect and will always abide by your guidance. Mr. Speaker, especially when that particular matter is a subject matter of litigation in court, which everybody knows about. That is my only way, so that it doesn't become a backdoor.
That is Order 93, and that is when it comes for debate. It's not for the Speaker to be a jury at the same time. The Speaker doesn't take the decisions in the House. It's the House that takes the decisions. And so when we get to that stage, and you look at the chapter, the part under which 93 falls under, that has nothing to do with admission of papers or petitions or statements. It deals with the proceedings on the floor of the House. And when we get there and the issues are raised, the chair will be in a better position to rule on that. So, honourable members, in the circumstances, I propose that we set up a committee to go into the petition and then report to the House. And then the House will then have the opportunity to deliberate on it, because the report of the committee will come in the form of a motion, and then we can debate it. if at the end of the day we get the sense that there's a matter pending, we will be guided by the contents of the speeches that members will make on the floor, and that is the time that we can now apply Order 93. I'm very clear in my mind about this. Yes, leadership. Yes, sir.
Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity. First of all, I wish to refresh your memory. And as of yesterday at conclave, and I recall this matter was raised, Honorable Deputy Minority Chief of Honorable Ahmed, and he sought to bring the same matter to your notice, that in the face of the nature of the petition.
Honorable Member, am I out of order?
Speaker, with the greatest of respect, the Speaker cannot be out of order. Speaker, I'm just reminding you of the engagement we
before
had.
you. I am aware of whatever happened in conclave. It has nothing to do with admission by the Speaker of papers and petitions. It has everything to do with the debate. Mr. Speaker cannot guillotine submission of papers and petitions. My discretion does not extend to that. You can read the constitutional provision 296 and read our standing orders. I don't have that power. It's when it comes before you and during deliberation, you have concerns about Order 93 or whatever, you raise it. But as of now, I cannot prevent people from bringing petitions or this. No. That is not what our rules permit. So I've made a proposal for us to establish a committee to go into the petition and report back to the House. That is the matter now on the table for discussion. Yes, Majority Chief Whip.
Speaker, I'm not seeking to impede progress of work of the House. Neither am I seeking to challenge the authority of the Speaker. Speaker, if you had to complete my statement, what I was seeking to do was merely to refresh your memory relating to engagement leadership had with you at conclave, where the Honorable Ahmed has suggested that leadership engages on this matter further before we go into work. I'm only refreshing your memory, Speaker, with the greatest of respect.
My memory is fresh. You don't need to refreshen it. Majority Chief Whip, I say my memory is what? It's fresh. So you don't need to allow this matter to be in the hands of leadership for a long time. I have not heard. I know the majority leader is busy with other business in addition. But this matter came at conclave, and I referred it to the leadership. I am not hearing anything, and we need to move on. And since the decision or the deliberation on the matter is not today, it's for the House to go and consider and report, I think we should put the process in place. And then when we get there, we then, as a House, will take the decision. So please, let's establish the committee. I propose a committee of about 7. A committee of about 7 to go into the matter. And once again, leadership, you are critical in the formation of the committee. This is a challenge we have with our standing orders. And since we are masters of our own procedure, we can together carve out and craft a suitable procedure to handle these matters As I said, the new standing orders is trying to take care of it. But as of now, this is what we have. So please, we need a committee of 7 to handle this matter and report to the House. Minority Chief Whip.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. Once, Mr. Speaker, you agree that a 7-member committee be set, Mr. Speaker, I'll only be grateful if you could add time limit. Time limit. Because as we may know, we'll soon go on recess. And if we are not bound with time, it could linger maybe forever. And since, like you yourself rightly said, this is an important issue that we need to look at it. If time could be, all of us will work within the stipulated time. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, we are trying as much as possible to get civil society and Ghanaians to participate in the work of the House. These petitions were directed to the Speaker, and I have to guide them to know that by our rules, our standing orders, you don't petition to the Speaker. The petition is to the House through a member of Parliament. And that was done. I went through the petitions. I went through the standing orders, our laws and our constitution. And I saw that the only way I could handle this is to bring it to the House to take the decision. I cannot use my discretion to refuse to admit them for the consideration of the House. They are petitions to the House. I only have to admit them. And by our standing orders, when they are so admitted, either by laying, like he has done, or through a motion, which motion will have to be seconded, and then the clerk will have to read through. But he opted for the first one. And so after that, it's before the House. It cannot just remain at the table. The House will have to consider it. And that's why there's a need for a special committee or ad hoc committee to handle it. Or if the House decides that because of the subject matter, you refer to a subject matter committee to handle and report to the House, so be it. And that is why I'm guiding the House for us to carve out the procedure of how to handle it. I heard the majority leader on air, but as I've just explained, I strongly and vehemently disagree with the position he held. And I think that this is the way we should go. The new standing orders will take care of some of these challenges. But as at now, the House will have to put this matter before a committee. And I've given proposals for us to establish a committee of 7, which means 4-3. You consider it, looking at the nature of the matter, Honorable Minority Chief Whip, it is not something we can give a timeline. It's something that we should give enough opportunity, because the petitioners will have to appear, other people will have to appear before the committee, and then the committee will now report to the House. That is from my reading of the practice in other parliaments. That is how it's handled. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sorry. Clearly, maybe I was not understood, or maybe I didn't put my request clearly. I'm talking about the time for this House to set up the committee. The timeline for the House to set up the committee so that it doesn't linger forever. That's what I was
of the bill if that directive could be given, so that this House will have a limited time to set the committee for the committee to start working. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Leadership, how long do you need to be able to set up the committee? Yes.
Mr. Speaker, with a view that we have a lot of work to do to ensure that we pass the appropriation bill before the end of the month, I propose that the House set up the committee before the House go on recess, so that the committee can start its work during the recess. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Majority bench, there's a proposal. What do you say to that?
Speaker, I just entered and I've listened to you the brief period that I've been here, and you have related to questions that I had with you outside the chamber, and you said you disagree with the position that I took. I must also register that I disagree with the position that you want to take. But I believe that this is sub judice. That is my position. But you have made a statement to the effect that it must refer to a committee to make some proposals. So perhaps we'll leave it at that. But I disagree with the position that you have taken. The Speaker, I agree.
Majority Leader. Majority Leader. What I have done is to admit the petition. Can you quote any standing orders who says that Mr. Speaker cannot admit a petition of this nature? Then we'll move on. And when you disagree with Mr. Speaker, you know the right thing to do. I don't want to assume powers I don't have. By the reading of the standing orders and the Constitution, I don't have those powers to be disallowing petitions because I have the discretion to admit or not to admit. I must be guided by law, rule of law. The issue that you raise, when the report comes and we get to that stage, we will apply the standing orders that apply to contents of speeches. But you can't say that I shouldn't have admitted the petition. I don't have those powers. Please. Yes, Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, with respect, the issue about petitions is about the performance of our representational and oversight responsibilities. Question time is representational oversight. You have the charge to admit questions or not. Is that not the case? So, Mr. Speaker, to say that there's no express provision, so that cannot be done. That's why I'm saying that I disagree with you. I'm not challenging the procedure. If I'm challenging, I know what to do. I'm expressing the opinion that I also disagree with you. And I do so strongly. As to whether I will move on to challenge the decision, I will know what to do if I have to challenge. For now, I'm not challenging. I'm disagreeing with you, and I have every right to disagree with you. Having said so, Mr. Speaker,
Majority Leader, please. Question time are ministers of state, and they are executives and members of government. Petitions are not necessarily directed against government or members of government. Petitions are concerns raised by citizens or group of citizens on issues that they feel they must get some relief. And one of the sources is to go through their MPs to the House. And that is why on the issue of questions, there are rules guiding the Speaker as to how he should exercise his discretion to admit or not to admit a question. When the Speaker admits a question, the House is also guided by the same rules to object or not to object. When you go to petitions, it's not the same. It's not just oversight. It goes beyond oversight. A petition does not necessarily mean oversight over the executive. It could be handling some issue at a societal level, not government. You are entitled to petition to the House. So there are different things altogether. But you are entitled to disagree with me. You are entitled to come by motion, and the House will, and the decision of the House is what the Speaker will go by. I am not a member of Parliament. I don't participate in the decision. I am to guide the proceedings of the House and make sure that there's law and order. So please, you can go on.
The Speaker, first of all, to establish that question time is not meant for the executive alone. It can even go to members of Parliament. Questions could be asked of members of Parliament. So it's not limited to the executive alone. The Speaker, the import of a question, if a question except in respect of the question time or period.
Majority leader, we are dealing with petition, not question. So let's deal with the petitions, please.
Mr. Speaker, with respect, if you have patience to listen to me, I'm saying that the import is the same.
We have a lot of business to transact. The question we have before you is for leadership to establish the committee before we rise, and for the committee to go into the matter during the recess. That is what is before the House now.
Mr. Speaker, the petition is being moved by a motion. That is what I heard him say.
I never said that. I never said that. I never said the petition is being moved by a motion. It's because you came in late. That is not the situation. So please, honorable leadership, let's climb this thing and go on.
Five.
Item 5.
Mr. Speaker, I was just saying that bearing a petition into the House, now that is being done by a member, it will come by the vehicle of a motion. And the import of a motion, that is why I was equating the import to that of a question. That is, if we go beyond that, it will come by, it means a proposal made by a member that Parliament or a committee thereof do something, order something to be done, or express an opinion concerning some matter. The Speaker, a question, and that is why I was linking the two. A question, except in respect of question time or period, or a question of privilege, means a proposal presented by a committee thereof by the Speaker or Chairman for the consideration and decision or disposal in some matter. Speaker, it's the reason why I was saying that the import.
I agree with you, but when we get there, we haven't reached there yet.
Mr. Speaker, it's the reason why I said, and I was looking at the effects. That's why I'm saying that I disagree with the process. Mr. Speaker, you remember that this is not the first time we're encountering this. We run into a header. And because of that a former Speaker, Right Honorable Peter Alagete, suggested that we should define the appropriate rules for handling petitions. That is contained in the new standing orders. Unfortunately, we have not adopted same yet. We have not adopted same yet. That's my difficulty. Now, as we say, that we should establish a committee to deal with it. Well, I wouldn't want to litigate that. The Deputy Minority Leader has given an indication that we should form the committee between now and the time when we adjourn sine die. Perhaps we could explore that. And it would be for the committee to make their own observations and conclusions to us. And then the House will make a firm determination on that. But that is not to prevent my also registering my strong that this is subject. Thank you.
Honorable Majority Leader, what I am doing is on the Order 6. All what you stated, I drew the House's attention to them. But Order 6 is clear. In all cases not provided for in these rules, Mr. Speaker shall make provisions as he deems fit. I told the House, I informed the House, and I repeated it a number of times, that the new standing orders will explain further and clarify these rules. But as at now, we have a petition pending, and we cannot wait until the new standing orders are passed. It's been on for some time, so we are providing for the rules and filling in the gap. And so please, the committee will be the committee of the House, not one side of the House. And that is why we said committee of 7, 4, 3. And then you report to the House, then yes, First Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm looking at Order 6, which gives you the authority to make provisions as you deem fit. And I'm suggesting that it would be helpful if what you deem fit is stated. So the circumstance, I'm suggesting to you, Mr. Speaker, that since what is contained in the new standing orders which have not been adopted is actually negotiated and agreed by the House, even though not adopted, you direct that you deem fit that the House use those provisions to consider the petitions as they are before you. So, Speaker, that's my suggestion to you, sir. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was hoping that our colleagues on the majority side, especially the majority leader, was going to speak to the time for the committee to be set. But I realized that they kept adding on, and with the new suggestion by the First Deputy Speaker, I want to draw his attention. We've gone past that stage. Because Speaker has already used Order 6 to make a directive. This front and back is not going to help. We should rather proceed with what is before us. Like I was telling you, between you and I, if you were seated there as the First Deputy Speaker, you could have used that Order 6 to order that we should use the new standard. But you're not the ones
of Dr. Kwabena Dufour, who used to be a shareholder of the defunct Unibank Ghana Limited.
Petition of Dr. Kwabena Dufour that Parliament, 1, investigates the conduct of the Bank of Ghana in the takeover appointment of an official administrator of Unibank Ghana Limited and the circumstances surrounding the revocation of the banking license of Unibank Ghana Limited. 2, direct the restoration of the banking license of Unibank Ghana Limited by the Bank of Ghana and the remedying of the harms done to the shareholders as a result of the conduct of the Bank of Ghana. 3, gives any other directives that Parliament may deem appropriate.
Honorable members, the petition is laid accordingly and referred to the committee that will be constituted by the leadership before we rise. And that committee will consider both petitions and report to the House in our next meeting. Thank you, honorable members. At least today has been a learning process. Could we now move to motion? That was the guidance I got from the majority side. Yes, Deputy Majority Leader.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, I heard you say the leadership to constitute a committee, the purposes of in looking at the petitions that have.
Honorable Member, I'm not prepared to go back.
No, Mr. Speaker, I'm not taking you back.
You were not around when we discussed this issue. You can't come and take us back.
Mr. Speaker, I'm not taking you back. With
Please,
respect.
we move on to motion.
Mr. Speaker, with respect. If
motion number 9, according to the Deputy Majority Leader. Sorry, the Majority Chief Whip. Minister for Railways and Development.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this
Honorable Minister, you don't have a seat. What I see here shows that you are not at your seat, and you are speaking for the Honorable Abina Osei Asad. We are having challenges.
I'll get back to my seat, but I'm just
yes,
by
please.
my chairman.
We are having challenges in this thing, so please speak from your seat. Yes, Majority Leader.
Speaker, I know some of the members don't even have their names affixed to this. But beyond that, even when you were the Deputy Speaker, you were insistent that members speak from their seats so that you'll be able to identify them. What I noticed is that you got asked him to make that pronouncement, and yet, as the day wears on, you relax the rules. I will encourage you to be consistent that everybody will speak from his seat, his or her seat, that it should not be relaxed. I will encourage you to do that. I thank you.
Majority Leader, you are overruled, and I order that this be expunged from the records. I have not rules. That's why I'm applying it to him.
On what grounds? Because you were sitting
Honorable
in this chair.
Majority Leader.
Yes, I hear you, Mr. Speaker.
Your powers have not reached that.
Mr. Speaker, I agree with you.
Honorable Majority Leader.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Resume your seat.
Well, but I want you to take this on board. Don't relax it. Don't relax the rules.
Honorable Majority Leader, the business of government is led by you in this House. You don't lead Parliament. You lead the business of the House. You lead the majority, and you lead government business. As to the role of the Speaker, you haven't reached there yet. When you get there, you do so. Please, you've been my very good friend for all these years, until I became Speaker. And everybody in Ghana is doubting whether you were really my friend. I received a lot of calls about that. And I said, you are my friend, and you are still my friend, but people are doubting it. Please, don't give credence. Honorable Minister, move the motion.
Mr. Speaker, respectfully, I have not been your friend until you became the Speaker. You and I know that we are still friends. But we agree to disagree. We agree to disagree. Mr. Speaker, fact. Majority leaders don't only act as leaders of the majority caucus, and also when their government, their party is in power, as leaders of government business. A majority leader is a leader of the House.
I stated it.
Thank you very much.
I stated it. But you are not the leader of the Speaker. You know, the mode in which you disagree with me is what is giving credence to whether you are still my friend. It looks like you are my former friend now. Before I hear you always on air disagreeing with me and so vehement that people are doubting, is this really my friend? So I'm just drawing your attention. If you want to continue to be my friend, then you know the proper thing to do.
If I want to be your friend, or if you want to be my friend, it's mutual. It's mutual.
You have to be my friend, not me being your friend. At least I have a position in Ghana. Number 3.
Mr. Speaker, your number 3 is not in government. Your number 3 is not in government.
No, I didn't say in government. I said in the country.
That is
what is your position in the country?
My position, Mr. Speaker, is that my position is a versatile utility which may have much more significance than a fixated player.
Your number is what? We are waiting. Minister for Railways Development, kindly move the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
First Deputy Speaker to take the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this Honorable House approve the sum of 512,575,692 Ghana cedis for the services of the Ministry of Railway Development for the year ending 31st December 2021. Mr. Speaker, the breakdown of this amount is placed under compensations, goods and services, and capital expenditure. The railway sector, Mr. Speaker, continues to be of a high priority area of government under the leadership of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. To this end, the 2021 budget for the Ministry of Railway Development, Mr. Speaker, will be applied to activities geared towards the revitalization and modernization of Ghana's railway system to facilitate efficient and effective movement of both cargo and passengers. Mr. Speaker, the focus of the Ministry's 2021 budget will therefore be utilized for the implementation of a number of key projects. Mr. Speaker, permit me just to mention one or few of these projects. One, the continuation of the ongoing development of the Western Railway line on standard gauge. Two, Mr. Speaker, is the continuation of the construction of works for the standard gauge railway line from Tema to Mpakadan. Three, Mr. Speaker, is to continue with the procurement process for the development of the Eastern line from Accra Tema to Kumasi through Bonkra Integrated Logistical Terminal. And finally, Mr. Speaker, another list is the maintenance of the operational sections of the narrow gauge railway network for the haulage of manganese from Nsuta mines to the port of Tam, ensure the provision of efficient passenger rail services on the Western and Eastern lines. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this August House approve the Ministry's budget estimates of 512,575,600 Ghana cedis for the year 2021 fiscal year. I beg to move, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Motion moved. Any seconder?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion, and in doing so, I would like to present the committee's report and urge the answer department to capture the entire report as being read, whilst I focus on.
Honourable Member, you are the chairman of the committee. I want to plead with members to, since we are all fresh, kindly usually mention your name and the title, and if necessary, that we get to know each other better.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my name is Honorable Kennedy Osenyako, MP for and the Chairman for Rules and Transport Committee. Mr. Speaker, I will urge the Hansard Department to capture the report. I've already seconded. The report has been read in its entirety. Whilst I focus on some salient or key issues in the report, Mr. Speaker, I would like to focus on the observations and recommendations made by the committee on pages 11 to 13. Mr. Speaker, item number 8.0 is about the observation of 8.1. Your committee met last Saturday to consider the estimate of the railway ministry, and we made some key observations. Mr. Speaker, the committee was informed that the ministry creation in February 2017 has been experiencing challenges with regard to limited office space. Apart from the limited office space, the ministry does not have the full complement of staff knowledgeable in railways. Similarly, the government authority is faced with challenges of office accommodation and staffing level, which are having dire impact on the performance of the railway sector. The Speaker, Ghana Railway Company Limited is also faced with human resource challenges, especially with aging staff. It was particularly indicated, for example, that the Ghana Railway Company Limited current staff strength of about 1,122, a total of 706 which is about 67%, are aged between 51 and 60 years. 252, which is about 25%, are aged between 41 to 50 years, while 92%, which is 95%, fall within the age bracket of 31 and 40 years. It is the considered view of the committee that all the intervention being made by the government to revamp the railway sector will not yield the needed outcome if human resource factor is not properly addressed to enable the ministry, and for that matter, Ghana Railway Development Authority and Ghana Railway Company Limited to have the full complement of staff with requisite knowledge. The committee again therefore urges the ministry, the Ghana Railway Development Authority and the Ghana Railway Company Limited to develop a comprehensive roadmap for the recruitment of the requisite staff. The ministry was also urged to have an arrangement with the Railway Training School to have some of the existing staff trained. Mr. Speaker, item 8.2, the committee noted that the current railway legal and regulatory regime is ineffective because the regulations are yet to be passed to fully operationalize the Railway Act 2008, Act 779, that established the Ghana Railway Development Authority. The committee viewed this as potentially a disincentive participation in the railway industry. Furthermore, Ghana Railway Development Authority, the regulator, is also a developer and an asset holder. This may compromise its independence and potentially makes Ghana Railway Development Authority a judge in its own cause. Since government is encouraging private sector investors to own railway assets, Ghana Railway Development cannot be viewed as habitat, and the committee recommends that the decoupling of the two roles to allow Ghana Railway Development Authority to concentrate on its regulatory functions. Mr. Speaker, item 8.3, operational challenges. The committee was also informed that in the recent times, the operations of Ghana Railway Company Limited climbed to an unacceptable level, making it difficult to run as a business entity. It was explained that in spite of the numerous government interventions to the sector still battles with the challenge of poor tracks, obsolete equipment, and rolling stock. In addition, two commuters train service on the Eastern Railway line, that is from Accra to Tema and Accra to Nsawam, had to be suspended in the course of the year due to COVID-19 pandemic. So, Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, the committee, after perusing the entire program and the estimates, Mr. Speaker, unable for the ministry to execute its program and activities, the committee unanimously recommend to the House to approve the sum of 512,575,690 Ghana cedi and 92 for the Ministry of Railway Development for the 2021 fiscal year. This we are also submit.
Yes, Honorable Ranking Member.
Right, I rise to speak in support of the motion moved by the Minister and seconded by the Chairman. Mr. Speaker, my name is Kwame Agoja, Member of Parliament for Adakro, and I'm the Ranking Member. Mr. Speaker, the committee noted that in 2020, the ministry was allocated just 435 million Ghana cedi, but the ministry actually spent nearly 700 million Ghana cedi. It means they've overspent their budget. But Mr. Speaker, if you look into the details, it is actually positive for the state. What it meant was that, Mr. Speaker, the project being undertaken by the ministry, some of the developers were able to deliver more than what was initially anticipated. So though you see that they've overspent their budget by 262 million, it's actually not a negative development. It's a positive development because these are donor monies, and the quicker you can disburse, the earlier you can derive the benefit of those investments, the better. So, Mr. Speaker, that has been noted. Mr. Speaker, my chairman spoke of a few things. I would like to limit my contribution to a few things, Mr. Speaker. First of all, if you look at what government have been doing over the years, Mr. Speaker, it appears we are building railways as if like the way we build roads. But sadly, that will not work. Mr. Speaker, if you were to attempt to build a road between Tema, motorway and about to, let's say, Eketa, you can do the first 17 kilometers and drivers will be happy to drive on the good 17 kilometers and ply the rest, which is bad. But with railway, you have to build it end to end. You cannot build halfway and leave it. So there's the need for the government to actually look at the railway master plan carefully and see what we can do to derive the best benefits quicker. If you take the Mpakadan project, Mr. Speaker, we are going to end at Mpakadan. The question is, if the goods move from Tema to Mpakadan, what are we going to do with the goods there? So there has to be an urgent plan to either build a terminal there or to go back and see what we can do with the river and take them on the back to Yape or Buipe, or actually start constructing the rail all the way to Paga. That is not any program currently. So, Mr. Speaker, perhaps by the end of this year or next year, we might complete the Mpakadan Railway, but it will be of no use in terms of what, so Mr. Speaker, the new minister must continue with what we started, and I hope we can help him continue. Mr. Speaker, the next thing I want to talk about is the project they are embarking on. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, in this House, we passed an agreement for the EPC contract with Amandi, 500 million euros. They are supposed to start work any moment from now. Mr. Speaker, on 4, there's also additionally an EPC contract of $48 million have been signed with a company called Measures, David Walter. Mr. Speaker, we are told that David Walter is a Ghanaian company. The funding is coming from GOG. So it is appropriate to do an EPC contract with them without coming to Parliament. But Mr. Speaker, take a look at the next one. EPC contract of $93 million with the same David Walter. Mr. Speaker, that is not a contract. And a government that even had a minister of procurement, I'm surprised that they keep making these mistakes. What you have here is not a contract. If somebody produces a term sheet for you, which is still lying at the Ministry of, why do you put it here as a contract? You do not have a contract with David Walter to build a railway. It's just a term sheet. So that means that this government must pay attention to this. Contracts have critical ingredients. You do not have the ingredients to form a contract on this particular project yet. Mr. Speaker, there's also something that we need to pay attention to. Mr. Speaker, it appears government have signed too many MOUs with entities who claim they have billions of dollars to build railway, and none of them is showing up to do the BOT that we are talking about. Mr. Speaker, everywhere in the world, the most successful railway networks are funded by the state, which is that, and you can only lease that to operators. So when they lease a section to you, then you bring your rolling stock, you operate it for a period of time, you pay dividend to government, and you go off. Mr. Speaker, we cannot expect that a BOT operator in this country would bring $5 billion to build a railway to get his money back when? In 100 years? It is not that easy. So we are encouraging government. You would need to do the necessary investment in the short term to be able to do that. And we encourage the minister, encourage cabinet to give you more resources to put in the necessary, the first investment has to be done by government. Otherwise, we've been signing this BOT agreement all the time. Where is any of them? In fact, the only ones that are outside are the ones that we took loans in this house. That should tell us clearly. People will tell you all sorts of things. Oh, we can do it. We have 5 billion. They can't, because the turnaround time is too long, Mr. Speaker. So we encourage the new minister to be able to look at this and see how we can help build a better railway system. Mr. Speaker, like I said, the amounts allocated here for the ministry obviously can't do much. 512 million Ghana cedi, not enough to do anything. Government will have to look for extra money. In fact, when we listen to the president in the State of the Nation address, he hinted of a 2 billion they are looking for somewhere to invest. We would encourage government to do that, but they should pay attention to the debt stock as well. But if we want to actually industrialize, Mr. Speaker, we have to do the necessary investment before we can derive the benefits. Mr. Speaker, the other issues have been raised by the minister and the chairman already. So, Mr. Speaker, I just want to end here and encourage colleagues to support the bill. But I'm very particular about this issue about the procurement, that when the government brings things to this house, they should pay attention to those little things about procurement, because it doesn't look good on us when somebody takes this report and knows that there's no contract, yet we are saying we are approving a contract. Mr. Speaker, it's an anomaly, and we can address it at the ministry. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
Yes, Honorable Vice Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to contribute to the motion able moved by the Minister of Road and Transport. Mr. Speaker, in doing so, I want to urge both sides of the House to approve the budgetary allocation of 512,575,692 to the Ministry of Railway to enable the ministry carry its activities. Mr. Speaker, we cannot develop as a nation without paying more emphasis into the railway sector. And if you look at the past government, much attention was not given to the railway sector until 2007, when then the President of the Republic, President Kufuor, started some allocation to the Ministry of Railway through the Ministry of Transport. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Railway has clocked a lot of success from 2017 to 2020. And as my colleagues, the ranking member said, the allocation to the ministry was overspent by 160% due to the fact that the President is more seriously in developing the railway sector. Mr. Speaker, if we want to ease the burden on our railway sector, our road, then it means that we have to find sources of funding for the railway sector. As the ranking said, you cannot develop the railway to a certain portion which you can't use it. And at the end of the day, it's a burden on Ghana. And as a nation, we have to look at elsewhere how we can get the resources to develop the railway sector. Mr. Speaker, in the 90s and 1995, when our parents had Asafo, on our way, if you reach our house, you can see that one will be standing in the railway line, stopping vehicles pass by. And you can see that railway or rails carry the cocoa and timbers from the western north to Takrady Port. But today, Mr. Speaker, as you apply Dunkwa to Awasu Road, you can see a lot of heavy trucks plying our road. And this is actually one of the areas that we need to look at it. And I believe that if much attention is paid to the railway sector, our road and the traffic situation in our urban areas will ease. Mr. Speaker, and yesterday, yourself, you admitted 2 statements from honorable members about the congestion and traffic situation in our urban areas. But I believe that as a nation, if we are able to develop our railway line, the traffic situation in our road, and also the much expenditure in the road sector will ease. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Yes, Honorable.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to also contribute to the motion that this House approves a sum of 512,575,692 for the Ministry of Railway Development. Mr. Speaker, just as the other colleagues said, if you look at a capital-intensive sector like the railway, a total amount of just about 500 million Ghana cedis is something that definitely will not even make us move an inch in terms of our whole strategy of ensuring that we offload our haulage, particularly into what they call it, into a railway sector. Because the statistics suggest that, Mr. Speaker, that about 90% of our haulage is by road. That clearly tells you that issues of threats towards the lifespan of our roads is at stake. Risk of accidents, traffic jams, and what have you. And so when you have such a dedicated amount of 500 million, it tells us that as a country, if we are very serious, we should begin to start looking at other ways of ensuring that we have investments in that sector. And I believe that it is for that reason that the President found it necessary to carve out the Ministry of Railway Development from the Ministry of Transport for special attention. And so this allocation to me is a contradiction to the intention of the President. But that being said, it is also important that we look at how we can get the private sector to support in this area, particularly in the mining area, Mr. Speaker. Is it possible that even the mining companies engage in either rehabilitation or construction of these railways? Because they need the railways for haulage. Indeed, as a member of the Mines and Energy Committee, we visited Takrady, we visited the Ghana Manganese Company. And they indicated to us that it cost them $7 per ton to cut their produce, or maybe their what do you call it, the manganese or the products. It cost them $7 per ton if they were going to use the road. It cost them $5 per ton if they use the rails. It gives a very clear indication that even in terms of the cost of doing business, it tends to help, what do you call it, companies that are involved and that need the usage of railways companies. So is it possible that we can get such companies to really find a way, in terms of a PPP thing, they invest in that and you can deduct that the amount of money they have to pay for tax, it can be tax deductible, such that we will have more sources of time to see how we can develop this. But Mr. Speaker, it is also important that as the new minister is going to that particular ministry, there was this incident of GMC, that's the Ghana Manganese Company, that they had donated about $10 million to rehabilitate the Nsuta-Takrady portion of the Western Railway line. And as at last year when we got there, nothing had been done. And this was a donation from the company to the ministry to be able to develop that particular stretch. 10 million is not a chicken feed. And we expected that. And I remember last year, we called on the minister to give us a response, and that never came as to what that money was used for. And it is important that the monies that are meant for capital-intensive programs like this, we do not reduce them to recurrent expenditure, the payment of salaries, and maybe even using it for TNT. And so it is one area that I think that the minister himself should begin to start looking at. Maybe he should still investigate this, because it discourages people who really want to help government with its own agenda. But the last part I want to talk about has to do with the financial performance of the ministry from January to December 2020. Mr. Speaker, I realize that under CAPEX, development partners, the amount that was approved by Parliament was 308,809,800. But I saw that in terms of the releases, it was 575,658,315.40. It means that there was, in terms of releases, we had over 86.141 that was released. Two questions. It is possible that maybe there was more work done than we anticipated. positive thing, particularly in a sector that is suffering for money. But is it also in terms of how good governance works? Is it possible that this particular figure, the amount that was approved by Parliament, and the expenditure, the releases that were made, was it not necessary for the ministry to come back to Parliament to say that the amount of money you allocated for us and approved, we intend overspending that, or we intend spending more than that? And it is something that, as a House, we must begin to start looking in terms of our supervisory role over the executive. Because yes, I do not for a moment want to believe that this was used for something that was not good. It is possible that this was used in really, maybe, for example, if the contractor worked faster than anticipated, maybe they will need more money to pay the contractor. That is a very good thing. But this must be done for some balances. That this thing is brought back to Parliament. That, look, this is what we initially asked for, and this is what Parliament gave us. But we intend expending more than that. That will help us going forward. And I think that, Mr. Speaker, as Parliament, we must begin to start becoming a bit critical about some of these things, such that we cannot have the executive just run the way they want, or else, to a very large extent, issues of transparency and accountability may not be properly served. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
Yes, Dr. Mafu.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I'm more than excited to support the motion to approve the indicated budget amount in support of the Ministry of Railways for its activities for the year ending December 2021. Mr. Speaker, I'm excited particularly because in your committee's report, we learned that government has taken steps not only to pursue the development of the railway infrastructure, but also to procure some 35 standard gauge rolling stock for our railway sector. Because I've been wondering if we build all the infrastructure and it gets to a point where we need to now run the business and operate, and we don't have the trains to ply the railways, then all the investments that we have done might have gone to waste. And so I'm excited that efforts have been made to procure these in order to help us operationalize the railway development program that we have undertaken. Mr. Speaker, they made some observations that I'd like to draw our attention. The first is about the staffing. Again, if we develop the infrastructure, get the trains, and at the end of the day, we don't have the requisite staff and personnel to man the affairs of the railway, particularly the Ghana Railway Development Authority, we will not be doing ourselves good. And so the fact that you have almost 75% of the staff today almost getting to retirement very soon, I think it's important that we pay attention to making sure that we improve the staffing condition of the Railway Development Authority. Again, as we attempt to attract foreign investors in the sector, it will be important that we have an effective regulatory regime. And so the committees of that, we do not have the necessary regulations to support the enforcement and application of the Railways Act of 2008, Act 779, is also a source of worry. And I want to urge the ministry and government to expedite action in bringing an ally to the House so that it will incentivize private sector to also participate in the affairs of the railway sector development. And finally, Mr. Speaker, I'm also excited that the ministry pledged to take steps to ensure that the encroachment on the lands of Railway Authority, or all lands belonging to the ministry, will be redeemed. Everywhere you go in this country and there's a railway, you see the stench of encroachment. And so it is important that as we have started developing the sector, we take steps to make sure that all lands belonging to the railway authority are properly and if you like, protected. And so, Mr. Speaker, on that note, I am happy to support the motion and to pray the House to approve the sum of 512,575,692 Ghana cedis for the Ministry of Railway Development for the fiscal year. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also rise to support the motion and add my voice that this Ghana Railway Development Authority, the Ministry of Railway Development budget should be approved. Mr. Speaker, your committee has made some observations, and the Minister in charge of Railway Development should take note and take steps to make sure that those observations have been taken care of, especially in his new ministry. The first one, my other honorable colleague has spoken about it, has to do with staffing. If we are developing the railway industry, and all we have now is 92 workers, that is 5%, falls under the between 31 and 40 years. It means that the rest of the staff is over 95% are above 41 years. If we have that human resource in that industry, it clearly shows that the industry is dying down because people with expertise and experience will no longer be there in the next few years to support the industry. So I want to urge the minister to take it up as a matter of urgency to support the development of human resource in that sector. Having said that, Mr. Speaker, I've also noticed that the Railway Development Authority has, in collaboration with UMAT, that's University of Mines and Technology, to start some program there. Now, these programs has to do with what we call managerial, level. BSc or first degree, you turn up to start working at the managerial level. The question I ask is, if you take railway as an industry, you have a middle level manpower, the technicians. Who are those training the technicians to work on our locomotive, our engines, and the railway itself, or the lines itself? These are things that I expect the new minister to take on board and make sure that it is not only the upper level management that should be trained, but we should also train technicians, the middle level, the artisans who will do the hands work at the various sites, various stations. Mr. Speaker, having said that, I've also noticed that's the item 7.5, where so many contracts has been signed. I heard the ranking member mentioning that most of them are not even contracts that have been signed, but they are MOUs that has been signed between developers and the ministry. I want to plead with the minister that next time when they are presenting, a report to us, it should be factual in that sense. Mr. Speaker, another issue that I've seen is the legal and regulatory framework that we have. Mr. Speaker, now that we have, and we have only one institution, that's the Ghana Railway Development Authority, in charge. Your report says that they are the developers, they are the same institution that runs the business, they don't have any legal framework that will allow private sector to be part, to also enter into the environment. I want to plead with the minister to come with a regulation that will allow private sectors to also participate in this environment or participate in this industry. The operational challenges, Mr. Speaker, I have also that they have operational challenges, and this has to do with when COVID-19, a pandemic, struck this nation and the whole world. Now, this business came to halt, especially the Accra-Tema Railway has stopped working. Why have they stopped working? Because of the pandemic. Now, what is the ministry's strategic move or strategic agenda that if there is any new pandemic, the business will not grind to halt? We have seen so much in the industry, and if one pandemic can grind entire industry to halt because of the pandemic, then there should be another strategy that will get businesses, even if there is any pandemic that will befall this country. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I noticed that an amount of 435 million Ghana cedis was budgeted, but releases was 697. Also noticed, Mr. Speaker, that there was some payment of over 266 million Ghana cedis, which has not come to the floor of the House. Now, if there's any payment, if there's any overpayment, as our regulation says, it should have come to Parliament for us to approve of it. Now, this was not done, and the ministry has released over 266 million to the Ghana Minister of Railway for the payment of this. Now, what do we do as a House? Do we call the minister to come and answer us or ask our laws to take its course? These are issues that we need to agree on, because overpayment or payment that has not been released or approved by this House should not be countenanced as we are supposed to take care of the finances of this nation. With this view, Mr. Speaker, I support the motion. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, majority leadership.
Speaker, I will yield to the sector minister, who has indicated that he has some concluding remarks to make.
Very well, Honorable Minister. You may wind up.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me use this opportunity, first of all, to thank the committee members, the chairman of the committee, the ranking, and all the other members for the good work they've done in putting this report together for consideration by this August House. Mr. Speaker, the railway industry, as said by the earlier speakers, is a medium that the necessary growth that this country would deserve. It's on record that, Mr. Speaker, the expenditure undertaken within the last 4 years by His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo within the railway sector is far in excess if you combine the past two regimes, right down from His Excellency President John Jekun Kufuor and His Excellency John Mahamad's regime. The 16 years regime expenditure on railway is far less than what His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has done within the 4 years. The records are there. These records are there and everybody can see it clearly. Mr. President, I agree with the ranking that to push the railway sector further, we need to concentrate and do further investment. It is on that note that His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, during his address, mentioned that his attention is going to be on the railway, and he did mention that an amount of about $2 billion will be used for the sector. That, I think, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo mentioned. This government will live up to that expectation. There have been several problems and hindrances within the sector as speakers. Mr. Speaker, I take notice of them, and I want to assure the House that we will do what is necessary to correct those errors. But with regard to the overpayment, Mr. Speaker, my understanding clearly is that the value of work that was valued and paid for was far in excess of what was expected during the period. But the Speaker mentioned that there will be a need for the ministry to come to the House to seek further approval. Mr. Speaker, we take good notice of that, and we would do as the House requests. Mr. Speaker, several MOUs, of course, were signed. The rationale for some of these MOUs is just to interact with some of these developers. They've not yet migrated into a level of contract, but just to keep the facts of issues discussed, that was the reason why we have some of these MOUs being signed. With regard to the Davis-Walters contract, the contract is a precedent contract. There need to be some condition precedents before the contract is triggered. So though the contract has been signed at that level, yes, of course, it hasn't come to Parliament for approval. It has not even gone to value for money, has not been concluded on it. But there was a contract understanding between the ministry and David Walters. I think that was the reason why it's reflected in the report as contract. It will definitely come to this House for approval. Mr. Speaker, on those few words, I want to thank the committee and hope that going forward we'll work together for that. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Other the question is all in favor of the motion, say aye. Say no. The ayes have it. The motion is carried. The House has accordingly approved the sum of 512,575,692 Ghana cedis for the services of the Ministry of Railway Development for the year 31st December 2021. Yes. Honorable Majority Leader, yes.
Speaker, with your leave, we'd like to lay item number 6C, II, and on page 3 of today's order paper, and then 6D. Seek your leave to lay them, Speaker.
Very well. Item 6C. You mean I is not ready, you start from II? Very well. Item 6CI by the Chairman of the Committee.
Speaker, again with your leave, I sought your leave to lay the items myself.
Very well. Speaker. Please go ahead. Report of the Finance Committee on the annual budget estimates of the National Development Planning Commission for the year ended 31st December 2021. The report is duly laid. It's for distribution to members. Items. Report of the Finance Committee on the annual budget estimates of the Office of the Head for the year ending 31st December 2021. The report is duly laid for distribution to members. Item D. The Committee on Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs on the annual budget estimates of the Office of Special Prosecutor for the year ending 31st December 2021. The report is duly laid for distribution to members. Yes.
Speaker, with your kind leave again, we can now take Motion number 10 on page 8 of today's order paper.
Motion number 10. By the Minister for Roads and Highways.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this Honorable House approve the sum of 1,767,771,491 Ghana cedis for the services of the Ministry of Roads and Highways for the year ending 31st December 2021. Mr. Speaker, the aforementioned total sum in this breakdown covers three major items: compensation, goods and services, and capex of the ministry for the year 2021. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of and Highways provides integrated, efficient, cost-effective, and sustainable road transport system responsive to the needs of the road sector of society and, for that matter, the Republic of Ghana. Mr. Speaker, as this Honorable House is already aware, the past years, and in particular the year of 2020, as was declared the year of road by His Excellency, the President of the Republic, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, a lot in the road sector, as we undertook the construction, rehabilitation, reconstruction, and upgrading of major roads around the country, covering all the 16 regions and all the 260 districts of our country, as well as construction of bridges and unprecedented number of interchanges, all taking place simultaneously across the country. It may also be recalled that during this period, Mr. Speaker, the interchange under the Accra Urban Transport Project saw the construction of piers and the four-tier interchange, which also came with 10 kilometers of selected roads, got to a very high percentage of completion. But as at the end of 2020, it had reached over 90%, considered to be substantial completion of the project, and in about 2 months from now, the entire project will be commissioned by His Excellency, the President. Again, the first phase of the Tema Motorway Roundabout project, which is also a 3-tier interchange, came to an end, and it was on schedule. And by June, the first phase, which was supposed to last 28 months for the construction period, was met. The second phase will start, which will involve the building and the construction of the third tier before the third quarter of this year. Again, Mr. Speaker, the Obechebe Lamte Circle Interchange Phase 1 also came to an end together with all its ancillary works in November 2020. And the second, Mr. Speaker, the Lake Road Drainage Extension Project in Kumasi has achieved almost 70% completion and is also going on. In addition, a number of bridges were built across the country. Over 1,000 kilometers of asphalt overlay was achieved across the nation, and a lot of the routine and periodic maintenance of our roads also were carried out throughout the year. 2021 has again been declared as the second year of rule by His Excellency the President because of the successes chopped last year. Is even going to see a lot of activities, a lot of action, and my ministry is going to be more aggressive to ensure that the vision of His Excellency the President on the road sector comes to fruition. A lot of projects are ongoing, and Mr. Speaker, I would want to just mention a few, 3 or 4, because of the ambitious nature and policy of the President for this year in embarking upon dualization of all the major roads in our country. In Sawam Apega stretch, which is part of the Accra-Kumasi dualization project, is currently ongoing, and the ministry is going to ensure that within the second term of His Excellency the President, the Accra-Kumasi dualization will be brought to completion. Again, Mr. President's government will ensure that the Bolgatanga-Boku-Pomakro project, covering a distance of about 109 kilometers, will also be brought to completion within the year. In Kwanta to Uchi Damanko Road will be completed, Link Road will be completed, and Brekum Selkwa Road will also be completed, while Wariwari Road will also be completed among other projects. Again, Mr. Speaker, within the year, we are scheduled to bring on board 5 different interchanges in Kumasi, including that of a 4-tier interchange at the Swami roundabout. Oforikrom will be brought on board. Ahujo will be brought on board, and so on. And again, we are not going to relent on the rate at which asphaltic overlay are being done on our major roads. And as aforementioned, we achieved a little over 1,000 kilometers nationwide last year. We intend doing around 1,500.
Honorable Minister, please conclude. The report will be brought by the committee.
Mr. Speaker, I want to conclude by moving that this Honorable House approves the sum of 1,967,771,491 Ghana cedis to support the ministerial and projects for the year ending 31st December 2021. Mr. Speaker, I so move. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Chairman of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion, and in doing so, I would like to present the committee's report and urge the Hazard Department to capture the entire report as being read. Whilst I focus on item number 10 and 11 of the committee's report. Mr. Speaker, your committee met last Saturday to consider the estimates in the program for the Ministry of Roads and Highways. And your committee made the following observations. Mr. Speaker, item 10, paragraph 10.1. Mr. Speaker, the committee noted with concern the outstanding payments and arrears owed to contractors. The committee was informed that the situation has been due to delays and at times non-releases of budgetary allocation, as well as delays in the issuance of commencement certificate for capital expenditure. The Speaker, as a result, the ministry is saddled with huge outstanding commitments. Outstanding invoices from 2013 to December 2020, only road arrears for the sector amount to 2.247 billion, while indebtedness to contractors received at the Ghana Road Fund Secretariat alone stands around 3.9 billion. Mr. Speaker, item 10, paragraph 10.2. Mr. Speaker, the decapping of road fund, the committee observed the worry of the challenges that the capping of the road fund has brought on the road sector. The capping of the road fund has limited resources substantially to the sector and has contributed to the huge outstanding arrears in the road sector. The committee considered the capping trends from 2017 to 2022 and noted that the road sector would be bereft of close to 2 billion Ghana cedi if capping continued. The committee, as a matter of urgency, recommends to the Ministry of Finance to take the necessary steps to amend the earmark fund capping and Realignment Act 2017, Act 947, and free the road fund for construction of roads. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, the pivotal role played by the road sector is known to all. The committee, having critically scrutinized the 2021 annual budget estimates of the Ministry of Roads and Highways, and being mindful of the 2021 fiscal year being declared the second year of roads, as well as the critical challenges facing the road sector, with the financial requirements and arrangement put in place by the ministry for the execution of its planned programs for the year 2021, and therefore unanimously recommend to the House for the approval of the sum of 1,967,771,491 cedi for the programs of the Ministry of Roads and Highways for the fiscal year 2021. I so submit, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Ranking. Right, Honourable Speaker, I rise to speak in favour of the motion moved by the Minister and seconded by Mr. Speaker. I want also to take the opportunity to commend our colleague, the Minister, for remaining diligent to the House in terms of how he attends to members' concerns about their roads. But, Mr. Speaker, like I've always said, his predicament is always about money. That is why when he keeps mentioning 5 interchanges in Kumasi and other things, and you look at the figures in the budget, you wonder whether he's talking about this budget or future budget that they are going to do those interchanges. Mr. Speaker, the Minister did talk about the dualization of that are coming on. Mr. Speaker, the truth is that you want to do this on PPP, Mr. Speaker, but the developers will have to pay back their money with interest. Mr. Speaker, if you say somebody should do a road between Accra and Kumasi, and how many toll roads, booths do we have on the way, and be charging 50 pesos and other things, how long do you expect him to recover his money? 100 years? Mr. Speaker, the Minister should be frontal with the House.
You can't do this if you don't do anything about accruals to the road fund and others. But that is not what you are talking about. You are doing the campaign promises, which is Nigerians call it Udio money. You are talking about something which is not even in the budget. How are you going to ask somebody to build a road between Accra and Kumasi and charge toll 50 pesos and do? It's not going to happen, Mr. Minister. Come to the house and tell us how you are going to be able to do that. Then we will know whether you are being frontal with the house. Mr. Speaker, I commend him for respecting Article 35(7). When this house passed a loan agreement in November 2016 to build the Pokwasi interchange, the minister respected the constitution, and we are happy that he's saying that somewhere that project will be completed for the benefit of the people of this country. That is very commendable, Mr. Speaker. But Mr. Speaker, I want to just quickly find out from the minister. He keeps mentioning a figure of over 1,000 kilometers of asphalt overlay. But if he draw his own attention, I want to draw his attention to paragraph 831 of the budget, his own budget, and line 3. Towards the end, he said, under the Urban Road Asphaltic Overlay Program, 648 kilometers of asphalt and other things were laid. Mr. Speaker, asphaltic overlay was not mentioned in other parts of the report. Is it the case that this is just for urban road, that on highways and other things was done? Then if that's the case, then we need to be clear about it. Mr. Speaker, to move on to other points quickly. Mr. Speaker, the minister talked about some bridge programs. This House approved a loan for 50 bridges. We call it the Czech bridges. I was led by the former chairman, my very good friend, Honorable Ayete, and the minister. We went to Czech Republic, did the negotiation. You would have thought that those prefabricated bridges would have been installed by now. But Mr. Speaker, as we speak, the minister hasn't given us any update as to which one has been installed. So it's not just the fact that this House approved the loan and the developers are probably letting us down. The minister needs to let us know about that. The same thing is what I have as a problem with the ministry's decision to hang our fortunes on road on Sino-Hydro that I've always been talking about, Mr. Speaker. On one of the tables, table 3 in the report, Mr. Speaker, you will notice that for 50% of the project that were under the phase 1, 50% of them, the contractor hasn't even started with. He's still mobilizing. And I'm saying that if this were to be a private sector operator, the contractor called Sino-Hydro has failed, should have been sacked because they didn't perform. Because all the projects should have been completed on 31st December 2020. Yet, we haven't completed any. The best result we have is Tamale Interchange, which is 60%. Mr. Speaker, what exactly is the problem of Sino-Hydro? Why they can't deliver as quickly as we all expect them to deliver? Maybe the minister can let us know about that. Mr. Speaker, a significant issue about road fund, Mr. Speaker. Last year, road fund accrued over 1.8 billion Ghana cedi. But the finance minister only gave them about 1 billion Ghana cedi. Mr. Speaker, this capping thing is becoming counterproductive. Mr. Speaker, do you know what happens? Because he didn't give them all the 1.8 billion, he put it inside something else. The minister gets certificates from contractors and have to pay a lot of interest on delayed payment. They have their money, you don't give it to them. So you see that the minister will tell you they even paid about 2 billion last year from other sources. But if you check the details of those payments, a chunk of it is interest on delayed payment. So this capping thing is active. Not every sector needed to be capped necessarily. Mr. Speaker, if I have my way, the road sector shouldn't be capped. They need so much money they can't get. If they're able to generate a bit of this, allow them to use it. Now we go and borrow money from somewhere and pay interest when we have already generated our money. We should actually be enhancing road fund to generate about 4 billion Ghana cedi. That is why, Mr. Speaker, I spoke against one of the taxes, which is the new taxes on S-line and other things. I would have been happier supporting this if you were putting 10% extra into the road fund, because in my projection that would have added another 200 million Ghana cedi. That means that we can clock 2 billion minimum for the road fund and allow them to use it. But to tell me that we want to use it for sanitation, I am not going to be able to support that because the road sector needs that money more. So, Mr. Minister, assure this House that you are taking steps to have access to the monies that are due you. And the finance minister understand capping road fund is counterproductive because you are just creating debt in the sector, and by the time you pay, the money is not actually going to do road work, it's going to the banks for the interest that the contractors are taking. Mr. Speaker, the last thing I want to talk about, and I spoke about that with regards to the railway as well, and then the minister said, oh, it is just a contract in lieu of other precedents. Mr. Speaker, contracts are contracts. There's something called MOU, which is acceptable. There's something called contract. Contract means that it is something that you and I have agreed between us. I am saying the motorway is critical for us to be able to build. What happened during the PPP process and was cancelled, we understood it. It wasn't value for money. The ministry decided to peg their fortunes with Motor Angels. There's no problem about that. But Mr. Speaker, Motor Angels is a foreign company. And I say, if you read Article 181(5), what transpired between the ministry and Motor Angels is not a valid contract. And the minister, maybe they are doing behind the scene, he's preparing to bring the necessary things to Parliament, which we would support, because he already said that he's going to seek cabinet approval and come to Parliament. But if you keep calling it a contract, Motor Angels is on all stock exchanges in the world that they've listed, telling people that they've got a $570 million contract with Ghana. They don't. But they are raising money already to show up to give money to their shareholders. That is the problem we have today. Mr. Speaker, I think the road ministry needs attention, Mr. Speaker. I don't know of any member of parliament who hasn't asked, or either on the floor or privately asked the minister to do something about his route. Mr. Speaker, the only way the minister will be able to help us deal with those road projects is to fund them. This budget is less than what was given to the ministry under the first year of road. So are we going back or we are going forward? If last year you were giving less, you were giving more money than this year. So the president doesn't put any premium on his second year of roads or what? Mr. Speaker, the budget is tight, but we have to prioritize what we want to pay for. If this is really a year of road, the first thing we need to do is road fund as a standard. And then we can know that at least 1.8 billion, 2 billion cedis is available to the minister, even to pay arrears, then we can move on with that. Because if you have this money, they can even pay off the the loan they have. It's just about 200 million. Mr. Speaker, we want to work with the minister, but it's only the government that can provide the resources. We want to believe that this advice or little thoughts we have would go a long way to enhance the tool. Yes, Mr. Speaker. Well, let's have a discussion, a frank discussion about the road tolls. I'm ready for it, provided it goes into what the road minister, the finance minister doesn't take the money and use it for something else. Let's have a frank discussion about road tolls in this country, and then we can move on. Mr. Speaker, with these few words, I thank you for the opportunity.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to speak in favor of the motion even moved by the Minister of Road and Highways. In doing so, Mr. Speaker, I want to urge both sides of the House to approve the budgetary allocation of 1.96771,491 billion to the Minister of Road and Highways to enable the ministry carry its activities. Mr. Speaker, roads form an integral part of our daily activities, and as we all know, Ghana is one of the countries that we are lagging behind infrastructure in terms of road construction. Mr. Speaker, in 2020, the President of the Republic declared a year of road. And actually, Mr. Speaker, if you look at the data presented by the Minister of Road and Highways, it actually manifests what the President actually said. Mr. Speaker, with your permission, let me give you some of the data presented by the ministry. Mr. Speaker, in 2015, a total of 220 kilometers of road was constructed. In 2016, 208 kilometers was constructed. In 2017, 220 kilometers was constructed. In 2018, 442 kilometers was constructed.
In 2019, 1,150 kilometers of roads was constructed. Into a total number of 1,941 kilometers of roads was constructed. And Mr. Speaker, I can confidently say that Western North actually benefited from such declaration. If you come to Sevilla Contomra to Sevilla also, that's 57 kilometers. Contractors are on the road working. If you come to Sevilla Contomra to Dadieso, about 30 kilometers, contractors are working. If you Benchman contract to Ajofia. Mr. Speaker, looking at the amount that have been allocated to the ministry, and I actually support the ranking member that, Mr. Speaker, we need to look at funding sources to the Ministry of Roads and Highways. If actually we want to ease, the traffic situation, and if we want to actually a lot of accidents, we need to dollarize our road sector. Mr. Speaker, President Akufo-Addo started a dollarization of Kumasi-Accra roads. It was stopped, but I believe the roads work has actually started on the dollarization. But Mr. Speaker, the funding to this particular sector is inadequate, as the ranking has said. Coming to the road tools, Mr. Speaker, most of us who have gotten the opportunity to travel outside, I can say confidently that Ghana is the least country that we pay a road toll. Because elsewhere you pay $1 as a road toll. So, Mr. Speaker, I will add my voice to the rank that we should do bipartisan and debate on how we are going to get sources of funding for the roads to enable the ministry carry on activities. With these few words, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you very much for the opportunity.
Mr. Speaker,
yeah.
Okay.
Say the lady. The lady?
No, for the minority now. Yes. Majority, you wait. Minority now, yes.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity given me to contribute to.
Honorable Member, kindly wait. After majority, it goes to minority, it comes back. Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I rise to speak in support of the motion for the amount of $1 billion. Yeah, 967,771,491 for the Ministry of Roads and Highways. Mr. Speaker, in supporting the motion, I'd like to make some observations based on the work program that the ministry has submitted. Indeed, when we're debating the policy statement, the minister made statements to the effect that, and in fact this morning he has repeated the statement to the effect that they want to have equitable development of the country. Yes, I see. I haven't gotten that impression at all. Wasn't the Speaker, policy document which was presented, and I refer you to page 151. Page 151, table 24. You will see that there are some ongoing projects, some road projects which were undertaken in 2020. Upper West region is completely absent. Mr. Speaker, under table 25, we have ongoing road projections. Again, Upper West has been completely neglected. Mr. Speaker, go to table 20, ongoing projects. It is the same story. Now, Mr. Speaker, if you go to page 155, we have pipeline projects, and a number of projects have been listed up to page 126. Again, Upper West Region has been completely neglected. Mr. Speaker, the 1992 Constitution, Article 36, 2D, provides as follows. The state shall in particular take all necessary steps to establish a sound and healthy economy whose underlying principles shall include D, undertaking even and balanced development of all regions and in every part of each region of Ghana, and in particular improving upon the living conditions, improve upon the conditions of life of the people, blah, 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 blah. That's how it goes. Mr. Speaker, what I have observed is that, yes, the Ministry of Roads and Highways has touted itself as having carried out road infrastructure in Ghana. That may be true. But the saying goes that the sweetness of the pudding is in the eating. And so, when every part of the country is benefiting from road infrastructure and Upper West is neglected, then in the first place, we are not going by the constitutional injunction. And we are also not part of the pudding. So I'm drawing attention to the Minister of Roads and Highways that if he thinks that Upper West is part of this country, and Upper West must also enjoy the eating of the pudding, going into the future, he should look at how he can support Upper West with road infrastructure. Mr. Speaker, I now want to deal with the specifics. As I said, Upper West generally has been neglected. But even more painful, Mr. Speaker, is my constituency in particular. That is the Laura constituency. Mr. Speaker, in 2016, two important road projects were awarded to two different contractors. Mr. Speaker, when there was a change of government, those two road projects were terminated. And one of the road projects is the Laura Hen stretch, which is an important road. It was terminated. The other one is the Tiza Dumene Nandom Road. Mr. Speaker, I've got the latest roads here. And since their termination, they have not been re-awarded. Mr. Speaker, I think that it's important that the Minister for Roads takes note of this, because at the committee level, when we went to a committee meeting to consider the estimates, he indicated that they did not intend to handle new roads. But if there was a case for any new roads, then he will consider that particular case. Mr. Speaker, these two roads I've mentioned are very important roads. And they link Laura to Hen, to Tumu, and then to Sicily, and then to Upper East. The other road from Tiza through Dumeni, through Nandom, and to Hamley links out to Burkina Faso. So they are very important roads. And I'll urge the minister, if it is too late to reconsider those particular roads, he should take note so that in future, going into 2022, there will be enough provision for those roads to be brought on board. Mr. Speaker, the other matter I want to deal with is with the Depay Bridge. The Depay Bridge, the Honorable Minister, he came to Laura with His Excellency, President Nana Akufo-Addo, to cut the sword with I don't know how to describe it, but it was such a big occasion. Yeah, pomp and pageantry. It was such a big occasion that billboards and then why not and why not, they had to commission the solar project and took the advantage to cut the sword. When he left, we thought that the contractor would stay. After 1 month, the contractor vanished. Mr. Speaker, up to date, the contractor has not set face, and the road is not being done. Mr. Speaker, it is true that some provision has been made for the works to see. Mr. Speaker, there is a problem. On the day of commissioning, His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo indicated that the road project was supposed to be done within 24 months. Within 24 months. And that it will cost about 26 million euros. Now, Mr. Speaker, if you look at the detailed estimates which were submitted at the committee, I observe that it is now taking 4 years for the road to be done. Because they made provision for 2020, they made provision for 2021, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024. In other words, it's going to take 4 years. But even so, the road will not be complete, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we want the bridge to be completed. The bridge. Mr. Speaker, the bridge. Mr. Speaker, my ranking member talked about railway construction and indicated that railway construction is not like road construction. That you can go and do 10 kilometers and then go and do another 10 kilometers and go and do another 10 kilometers. Mr. Speaker, with bridge construction, you either construct a bridge and complete it or you don't construct it. How can you use 4 years and over to do one bridge? When are we going to have the benefit of the bridge? So, Mr. Speaker, I'm drawing attention to the Minister of Roads and Transport. He should go back and then reconsider what the President himself said on the day of the cutting of the sword, that the bridge will be done in 24 months. And we want the road to be done in 24 months and not in 72 months. In fact, beyond that, because if you compute with 12 months every year, I don't know, 36 and some other months. So, Mr. Speaker, we want the road to be the bridge to be completed within a period of 24 months as promised by His Excellency. I'm sure that he meant business when he did so. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Now, the last thing I would like to talk about, Mr. Speaker, is about asphalt. Mr. Speaker, we have heard the Minister for Roads and Highways talk about so many kilometers of asphaltic overlay. We don't know where those areas, we don't know where he is covering. But I know for sure that Upper West is not one of the areas that is going to benefit from any asphaltic overlay. Yes, I know that Watown Roads, we have got some asphalt on Watown Roads. The other day he mentioned Lower Town Roads. Lower Town Roads have no asphaltic overlay at all. And so the Upper West, we don't have even 1 kilometer of asphaltic overlay, 1 kilometer on any of the trunk roads, except for the Wat Township and probably some other 1 kilometer somewhere. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, Upper West is part of the country. If they are providing asphalt.
Now let's return to the budget. You've had enough of Upper
Very well, Mr. Speaker. Right. Mr. Speaker, thank you for indulging me.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity given me to contribute to this motion so that this House would approve the estimate for the Road Ministry. Mr. Speaker, roads form an important part of our lives. and I'm happy to associate myself with the road that leads from Walwale to Wa. This road is very important because it links 3 regions. Wa Walwale Road links to Fumbisi, which is in the Upper East region. Wa Walwale Road links from Wa to Walwale and Pasinkia in the Northeast region. So we have 3 regions that would benefit from this road. Mr. Speaker, roads, I want to say everybody, every honorable person in this house needs a road. And I want to commend the President. Nana Adedanko Akufo-Addo, His Excellency, have done more roads than any other government. Why am I saying this? In my constituency, since time immemorial, since independence, we have never seen any road being constructed. But today, in Walwale constituency, I can boast of Nasha Janga Road, almost 60% complete. Nasha Karbu Road, 40% complete. Wa Walwale Road, 70% complete. Wa Walwale. And I want to urge the minister to support, to complete this road. The Janga, Walwale, Nasha, Janga, Nasha Karbu, and the Shimwaya Bani Road, which is very important for the people of my constituency. Mr. Speaker, without much ado, I will urge this House to support this budget estimate so that most of our roads are completed this year. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yes, Honorable James.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for allowing me for giving me the opportunity to contribute to the motion in support of the approval for the requested budget for the Ministry of Roads and Highways. I want to add my voice to the volume of congratulations messages to the Minister for the sector for his diligence and good work. 2020 was the year of road.
Honorable Member, hold on. Honorable Members, having regards to the state of the business of the House, I direct that the House sits outside the regular sitting hours. You may continue.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. 2021 is also going to be touted the year of roads, not the second year of roads. In the committee report, we realized some commendable indicators. And in page 6.3, it's read that there are some commencement certificates issued for critical regional roads and inter-regional roads as well. What is lacking is that we don't have the clarity. It's about 2,237.5 kilometers. What is the regional distribution of these roads? Are they the same roads that we have them? Because it is costing us, and I'm told that contracts have already been awarded, costing about 7.839. And so we need to give some clarity, Mr. Speaker, that we need to know what is the regional distribution for these projects, over 2,227. We need to know which of these roads are feeder roads, which of them are highways, and which of them are urban roads. And do we have the likelihood of having these same roads existing? Because if you see page 6, table 2, we have a lot of roads in there that have been on the drawing board for some time now. Are these parts of the roads that cover the 2,300 and something roads? We need to know. It is also worrying. We have some outstanding roads, Mr. Speaker, that needs to be cleared out of the box. And the typical one I'm much concerned about is the the Tebu, Bolgatanga, Boko, Palmakon Road. And I think it is very appalling. Still, we have 31% completion. The question is that, are we not going to complete this road before we take on, other roads as well? Are these roads still part of the 7.8 billion, road that commencement certificates have been signed for? And it's also important that whilst we are congratulating or thanking the minister for the good work done, we need to know what is the funding source for this road, because we've signed the contracts, commencement certificates have been, and so we need to know the source of funding. Mr. Speaker, we also need to know some timelines. Most of the time, we have good plans and so on. We are constructing this road in road year 1, road year 2. Where is the source of funding for these roads? I think it is important that we assure ourselves. If you get to know this, it is not going to be the normal message that you are doing this, you are doing that. Right, Honourable Speaker, Sino Hydro project. We see that there is on page 7, table 3, which reads under the Sino Hydro Master Facility, the following ongoing projects at various stages of completion. I'm wondering whether, if a contractor is mobilizing, it forms part of completion. Because you see Accra Inner City roads, the contractor is mobilizing. The Kumasi Inner City roads, the contractor is mobilizing. And of course, Thermal Interchange project, it's 60% completion, which is commendable. In Takoradi, we have the PTC interchange. Contractor is mobilizing. We are aware the contractor, cut short last year, somewhere last year, December, and still the contractor is mobilizing. I think it is high time we put timelines, because if you have all these laudable projects, we cut short for them, still contractors mobilizing, and you don't have any timelines for that. Mr. Speaker, I still want to congratulate the minister for his diligence and efficiency in the ministry. We need to support him going forward. But these are some of the concerns relating to clarity, the concerns relating to the fact that people will be assured. I overheard my colleagues saying that what is happening to some specific roads in Wa and other areas. Mr. Speaker, it is important also to note that there is also indicated in the report major pipeline projects. We have Volivo Bridge. We are aware of the funding from JICA as far back as 2015. This Volivo road is still sitting in the books as being specific or critical projects in the pipeline. So I think that it's high time, Mr. Speaker, we gave timelines to some of these projects so that we don't keep repeating them. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just will still want to thank the Minister for his work and also urge the government to provide the ministry with the necessary support. As has been said by my previous speakers, the bill, the arrears, the debt bill is growing and growing and growing. And these are areas that I think that the government will have to quickly support the ministry to get them out of the books. Because still, the bank charges keep rising and rising. Mr. Speaker, with those few words, I add my voice and urge the House to approve the budget as requested by the ministry so that they can go on with their jobs. Thank you very much.
Leadership.
Speaker, let me thank you for the opportunity to contribute to the motion that we approve that amount of money as recommended for 1.967771491 for the programs of the Ministry of Health for the year 2021. And Mr. Speaker, in doing so, to state strongly, President Nana Addo Dankwa declared 2020 year of roads. He has repeated it that 2021 year of roads. My presumption is that it means it failed in 2021. That is why he's rolling it back. It failed in 2020. That's why he's rolling it back to 2021. Because if it was successful, it will not continue. It also can be that the magnitude of the problem of the road sector is huge, and therefore he was unable to do enough to do justice to what he pledged in 2020. Between these two, Mr. Speaker, the budget statement as presented to Parliament is done pursuant to Article 179 of the Constitution in the name of the President. Mr. Speaker, if President Nana Addo Dankwa means well for the road sector, means well for 2021 to be the year of roads, he should end the capping of the road fund. Nothing more, and he would achieve his objective. So, as President, your mic, Honour you. Mr. Speaker, so my first appeal to the President is that end the capping of the road fund. I listened to the chairman, I listened to the ranking member. 1 billion. You release only 1 billion, keeping 800 million. There's no justification for it. So the Ministry of Finance, I'm serving notice, Minister, when you come, you will not get our support further to cap the road fund. We will not give you that support because we want contractors to be paid. We want the road minister to retire arrears in the road sector. We want him to start new projects because all of us here, Mr. Speaker, including you in Bekwai, there are challenges of roads that must be done. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm serving notice that we won't support the Minister for Finance going forward to cap the road fund. We will not support him because he has freed the resources for the Minister for Road and the Ministry of Roads to execute those projects. Mr. Speaker, I further listened to the colleagues on the sector, and I don't want to be selfish. The Minister have mentioned some roads, and Mr. Speaker, I'm supporting the Honourable Member for Wale Wale. And Mr. Speaker, for the purpose of a rendition, when I to page 6 of the committee's report, in particular, what the Honourable Lady referred to, Wale Wale Road. Anybody who picked this report would have been wondering which road is Wale Wale Road. Unless you have heard her, then you appreciate it. So the proper rendition should be Wale Wale Fumbisi Pasimpe Wa Road. Then we will know the road we are talking about. If you say Wa Road, we all know if you are from Wa and you are going to Bolga, you pass through Tumu, Sandema. That is what we know. But the Sicily Kulupon area has even become a tourist attraction area. There's now a beautiful resort built in that particular area. So for the record, Minister, it should be Wale Wale. Aja, will it pass through Yaba? Because I see Yaba on the road.
Yeah, I think so. It starts from Burugu. It will pass through Yagaba. It will definitely pass through Yagaba.
Minority leader, don't invite other members into your position without reference. No, please continue with your contribution, but leave her out.
Mr. Speaker, that is noted. But the minister must appreciate the passion with which the Honourable Member for Wale Wale is speaking. In her corridor there, over the last 2 decades, not much have been done. Whether it's Wale Wale, Nalergo, Kambab improved around 2016, some work started 2015, you've completed it. But from the corner, going through Bunkurugu to Yonyo, connecting on to Gushegu, to Cherpune, to Saboba, is not the best in terms of shape. Mr. Speaker, may I also refer the Minister to some urgent bridges, emergency bridges that must take his attention. Secretary Obuasi, Nawuni in the northern region, and Juanahili in the northern region. Minister, those bridges need some emergency attention, just like Bupe, Yape, and then the one linking Daboya to Tolon. And I believe that I'll bring it to the attention of the Honorable Minister. So, Mr. Speaker, the remit of my submission is that let us free the road fund. And I say so because at the time in 2015, I had the privilege to be on the economic management team. And when we were carving the energy sector levies at 2015 at 899 to the table, you will find road fund levy 40 Ghana cedis per liter on petrol and diesel. The words we used at the time to support road maintenance. Now, road fund, I still recall at the time, even the Minister for Roads had his own thinking on how to get revenue for the road fund. Now, this was done. Mr. Speaker, the understanding then in 2015 was for the Minister for Roads to use at least 60% to retire and pay for road fund accumulated arrears and generate new projects of 40%. Now, this was initiated under President Mahama in 2015. The money has come. Now, finance is sitting on the money and now deciding to give a certain quantum to the Minister for Road. That is in breach of his respect for this road fund act. If we wanted levies for the Minister for Finance, we would have said so. But we said that dedicate road fund levy to the road fund. So, Mr. Acting Minister for Finance, I'm further demanding that you come to this House with how much money have accrued to the road fund since 2015, accruing from the 40 Ghana cedis per liter on petrol and diesel, and its accrued. We want to be adequately informed as a House. How much money have accrued? How much have you spent the money? Because, Mr. Speaker, I've been in some ministry where, and I hope I can share this, Mr. Speaker, and then end it there. The government of Ghana, and when I say government, last 2 decades, we are not promoting the private sector of Ghana, particularly those in the construction industry. Government is responsible for their premature deaths, and government is responsible for those hypertensions many of them are getting. And when I say just this government, that's why I say last 2 decades. When you go and borrow money from a bank, 20 million, then for 2 years it is not paid. Put 20% of 20 million times 2 years and add it on. Yet a Minister of Finance or Roads tell you that he won't pay for accumulated interest. Who must pay for it? When the responsibility to pay, you have reneged. You have failed. So, Mr. Speaker, we are those killing the contractors softly by the ineptitude and lack of speed of payment. I don't think that is an acceptable thing. Mr. Speaker, I was going to say that the Ministry of Roads must belong to those roads where when you don't have budgetary allocation, you don't start a project. But I'll be unreasonable if I did that. I recall 2-3 years ago in 2016 where the Honorable Chairman stood when our colleague, the Honorable Inus Abuseni, was at road. His position was that you have awarded contracts exceeding your budget allocation. I heard him here. But what the Honorable Chairman must understand with the road sector is that if they allocate a road in Bekwa or Ejusu amounting to 50 kilometers of roads, it may take the contractor more than, because of 1, we don't pay adequately, 2, there's no resources to mobilize early inside. So even though it's 50 kilometers for a year, it may span over 2-3 years to get it completed. What, Mr. Speaker, again, I will recommend, whilst commending the Minister for Road, is that some of the roads, for instance, when you take Nyankwala Kumbungu Road, about 15 kilometers, unmotorable. You take Mbana Ayele Pachi Road, unmotorable. If you come to my Tamale South constituency, Kapa Ayele and Vitin area roads, and done over the years. Mr. Speaker, there is a relationship between good roads and good livelihood or quality of life. I always tell my constituents that when that road is done, a pregnant woman will get to the hospital faster than it had. And I put my position that tomorrow I can be that person on that stretch who needs to be rushed to a hospital. So, Mr. Speaker, we are strongly recommending to Acting Minister for Finance, advise the President that if he truly means that 2021 is year of roads, decap the road fund. Avail the road fund resources to the Minister for Roads to retire, as I listened to the chairman, you said 2.1 billion arrears. How is he going to retire the arrears? How is he going to start new projects in the road sector? So, Mr. Speaker, I've also mentioned those emergency bridges, particularly Nawuni. You know, Nawuni has a relationship with Kumbungu, and it has to do with the volta of the water. They need a bridge. If you are traveling to Tolong from Damongu or from Bole or from Sola, if the bridge is done in the Daboya area, you don't need to travel all the distance to Tamale to tend to be able to do it. So those emergency bridges would also need our attention. Mr. Speaker, in concluding, the Honorable Kwame Agoja, Mr. Speaker, mentioned the fact of PPP. Minister, you now have the benefit of a Public-Private Partnership Act 2020, Act 1039. We want the initiative, whether this express road, Cape Coast, Winneba, Accra, or Accra, Tamale. And Mr. Speaker, I support dualization of roads because if you look at the state of accidents in our country, it's largely collusion on the roads. So if you dualize, you are likely to minimize and reduce collusion as an accident symptom or consequence in our country. So yes, let's dualize, but let's come within the public-private partnership. The Honorable Ranking Member referred to Tema Motorway. We have discussed it extensively. Scope of work have. Let it sit within the meaning of the Public-Private Partnership Act. Is it build, operate, transfer? For what period? How much investment is the person bringing? That will determine the duration of the public-private partnership. As for road tolls, Mr. Speaker, yes, increase it. But the Minister for Roads, let this House know that road tolls doesn't feed the road fund adequately. What you get, no matter the increases. 70 million, that's there for one construction in a Swami area road. That will be enough for just one road. Swami going to Tafu, if you want to do. So road tolls. But I agree that, Mr. Speaker, I support it. But Minister for Roads, if you are to be successful, do the road and bridge constructions as we have mentioned. Justify yourself in cabinet that you don't want further capping. We will not support any capping of the road fund further. Mr. Speaker, with these words, I support the motion. Thank you.
Honorable Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for the space. This is Majority Leader. Mr. Speaker, the Minority Leader posed a question to do with the magnitude of the challenge in the road sector. We must admit, it's huge. It is indeed huge. You recollect that the Honorable Husseini Musa, when he came to this House, admitted to us that every year it should be possible for any government to expand the road network by about 4,000 kilometers. It is not possible to do that in practical terms because of the lack or the paucity of resources. So the 8-year rule of the NDC, they were only able to expand the road network from 69,000 to 73.9 thousand. Let's say 74,000. They increased by just under 4,000 kilometers. What it is that has been done under this regime from 73,000 to 78,000, about 5,000 kilometers expansion. Mr. Speaker, if we have to expand further, certainly what will yield the required dividends for us is the resort to the PPP. Other than that, it's not going to be possible for any regime to do that. President Kufuor, he was able to expand the network from 39,000 to 69,000. But that one had to do with opening up the countryside, feeder roads. Some of them existed as tracts, and then he was able to grade them and bring them into the national basket. But indeed, if we have to position the country to expand, we did this. Mr. Speaker, I like the PPP regime because we talk of price escalation, which at the end of the day means that we don't have value for the roads that are constructed in this country. Because you budget to do, let's say, 10 kilometers with about $10 million. By the time it's gone, the price has escalated because you're not able to pay on time to about $30 million. That's the bane. If you resort to PPPs, they come with their money and take the risk and do it. In that case, there's little room for price escalation and indeed for corruption. So, Mr. Speaker, I think that indeed should be the way to go. I also agree with colleagues who have advocated and indeed supported the ministry's stance that we should increase road tolls. Because, admittedly, since 2009, under President Mills, when the road tolls came to 900% from 10 pesos to 1 cedi, Speaker, they have not been increased again. Perhaps going forward, we should devise a scheme where there will be some automaticity in the increment of road tolls, so that they don't even have to come to this house to engage us to increase the levies charged at such. And I agree that even then, perhaps we should resort, as we were told by the experts when we got to home, that we should look at automation of the road tolls, the toll booths. The human factor is also something. Today, we anticipate that if we increase by, let's say, 400% or 500%, we go to 400% will take you to 5 cities. Average. Speaker, that then should be able to yield about 4.8 billion. Are we going to get it? Are we going to get it? That's something that we should look at. You may increase by 400% from 1 city to 5 cities, and you anticipate 4.8 billion. In addition to what you are supposed to be getting now is about 1.2 billion to take it to 6 billion. Are you going to have a yield if it is not automated? The Speaker, it is something that the Minister for Roads should begin to look at, together with the Ministry of Finance, that we need automation so that we have the highest yield when we increase. The Minister of Roads and Highways is the one who comes under scurrilous attacks in this House, because every constituency, every member of Parliament requires good roads in his or her backyard, and yet we are not able to do this. Mr. Speaker, I think that we must agree with the current state of affairs, and indeed going forward that must be done. The Minister intends not to introduce too many new roads, but to ensure the completion, consolidation, and continuity of those roads that are already in the pipeline. Mr. Speaker, the ceiling for the ministry is 1.967 billion. I believe that if the tolls are increased to enhance the yield, the ministry will be well positioned to do much more construction. Many more construction than we have done. Mr. Speaker, but one issue that I want to raise with the ministry, The report before us indicates to us that as of December 2020, the 4-tier Pokwase interchange had gone up to 9th completion. As we speak now, what addition have we seen, Minister, on that? And I believe that the Minister should be able to assure us that between now and maybe June, that project should be finished. Because, the Speaker, significantly it has reduced traffic, even though it's not been completed yet. It's reduced traffic. So the Minister should be encouraged to have that project completed as soon as possible. And also to begin in earnest the construction of the other interchanges on the Akosombo Road. The Swami one certainly, must be done. And that's going to be the second 4-tier interchange in the country. And Ghana will be the one of 2 countries in Africa to have the benefit of a 4-tier interchange. And Mr. Speaker, so I thank you very much. The benefits of roads we all do know. The minority there have stated food security, improvement in health, security in general, and also even enhancing the value of property in locations. Once you do the roads in any community, it adds value to the structures. And members and people who want to maybe use their properties as collateral to take loans from the banks, the values are enhanced. So, Mr. Speaker, the value of road construction is colossal. And that is why the minister responsible for roads must be given every encouragement that he requires to be able to reposition the country in expanding the road network and also improving the network of roads that we have in the system. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity given.
At the conclusion of the debate, all in favor of the motion, say aye. All against, say no. The ayes have it. The motion is carried. This House has adopted. This House has approved the sum of 1 billion trying to find the exact figure to be sure. 1,967,771. Sorry, 1,967,771,491 Ghana cedis for the programs of the Ministry of Roads and Highways for the fiscal year 2021.
The Speaker, if you can let the minority leader lay the reports from the Special Budget Committee captured on page 4, as items 6E, I.
Yes, the Honorable Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I can do for EI and EI.
Very well. Item EI. Chairman of the committee.
Report of the Special Budget Committee on the annual budget estimates of the National Commission for Civic Education for the year ending 31st December 2021.
The report is duly laid for distribution to members. Item EII. Not ready. Item EIII.
Report of the Special Budget Committee on the annual budget estimates of the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice for the year ending 31st December 2021.
The report is duly laid. Is for distribution to members.
Speaker,
Yes.
Item 6P, Roman number 1, on page 6.
P, Roman number on page 7 of the other paper.
Report of the Special Budget Committee on the annual budget estimates of the National Media Commission for the year ending 31st December 2021.
The report is duly laid. Is for distribution to members.
Speaker, item number 6M on page 6.
Michael or Noah?
Moro.
Item number 6N. Yes, Honorable Majority Leader, you are laying the report. Please proceed.
Report of the Committee on Mines and Energy on the annual budget estimates of the Ministry of Energy for the year ending 31st December 2021.
The report is duly laid. Is for distribution to members.
Mr. Speaker, if I may present these papers. Page 3, item 6A, Roman numbers 1, 2, and 3.
Item 6AI by the Majority Leader.
Annual budget estimates of the Audit Service for the year 2021.
The report is duly laid. It's for distribution to members. Item AII. Oh, very well, because these are not the report, these are estimates. So, item AI is referred to the Special Budget Committee for consideration and report. Item AII.
Annual budget estimates of Parliament and the Parliamentary Service for the year 2021.
The paper is duly presented, is referred to the Special Budget Committee to consider and report. Item AIII.
Annual budget estimates of the Judiciary and the Judicial Service for the year 2021.
The paper presented is referred to the committee, the Special Budget Committee for consideration. Judiciary is referred to the Judiciary Committee to consider and report. Yes,
Speaker, if I believe we can go to item 11, page 8.
Item 11, page 8, motion by the Minister for Transport.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this Honorable House approve item number 11 on page 8 of today's order paper by approving 757,839,197,000 to enable the Minister of Transport to execute its programs and projects. Mr. Speaker, these amounts comprises of compensation, goods and services, and keepers. Mr. Speaker, the focus of the ministry is to continue its existing program of construction of the coastal fish landing site at various beaches along the coast, to continue the Mina fishing port rehabilitation and expansion project, the expansion of the Kumasi and Takoradi airports, road safety education and awareness, development of road safety authority regulations, retooling of National Road Safety Authority, and expansion of DVLA services, particularly in the new 6 regions. Speaker, I beg to move that this House approve this amount. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Chairman of the Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion. And doing so, I would like to present the committee's report. Mr. Speaker, before I present your committee's report, I'd like to seek your leave to amend paragraph 7, subparagraph 7.2, line 4. Mr. Speaker, the figure 400 should be amended to read 100. Mr. Speaker, your committee met last Saturday to consider the budget estimate and program for the Ministry of Roads and Transport. Mr. Speaker, the committee made some observations and recommendations. Speaker, I will limit the presentation to the recommendations and the observations made by the committee. Mr. Speaker, paragraph 7, subparagraph 7.2.1. Mr. Speaker, the committee bemoaned the current practice where DVLA is reimbursed only 15% of the printing cost of roadworthy stickers, while all the revenue generated from the sale of same is lodged in the road fund account. The committee was informed that the current situation is having adverse financial burden on. The committee strongly recommends that an arrangement be put in place where either the Ministry of Finance fund the cost of the printing of the stickers or give back at least 60% of the printing cost of the stickers to enable DLA to continue to fund the printing of these stickers. Mr. Speaker, on subparagraph 7.23, the committee was also informed that the National Road Safety Authority developed a comprehensive nationwide road safety campaign dubbed Arrive Alive. It was added that the campaign, which was launched in 2020, is currently being aired on various media outlets. The overall objective of the campaign, it was explained, is to deliver various media programs, outreach, advocacy, and enforcement activities to influence the required positive change in road user behavior and laxity in addressing road safety issues in the country. The committee hopes that the campaign will be sustained to yield the required outcome. Mr. Speaker, on paragraph 7.24, the committee noted that the National Safety Authority could not achieve some of its targets relating to road accidents, particularly in the area of number of people killed and injured. The committee realized that among other factors in contribution to the National Road Safety Authority they are facing, which is preventing them to execute their program and policies. The committee is of the considered view that for the National Road Safety Authority to effectively implement its programs and sustain road safety campaign, there will be the need to ensure adequate and sustainable funding which the current budgetary allocation cannot ensure. The committee therefore recommends to government to consider allocating 0.5 or 5 pesos of the price per litre of petrol and diesel under the Energy Sector Levy Act, to support the operations of the National Road Safety Authority. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, the committee, after carefully examining the 2021 annual estimate of the ministry and having regard to the strategic role of the ministry in the development drive of the country, recommends to the House to approve the sum of 657,839,197 Ghana cedi to enable the Ministry of Transport to implement its programs and activities for the 2021 fiscal year. To reiterate, Mr. Speaker, it appealed to the Ministry of Finance to either fund the full cost of the printing of the roadworthy stickers or reimburse to DVLA at least 60% of the cost of printing to enable DVLA to carry on with their activities effectively and efficiently. Mr. Speaker, I so submit.
Yes, thank you.
Right, Honorable Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to contribute to the motion moved by the Minister, seconded by the Chairman, and to make these few points of my own. Mr. Speaker, I want to commend government for bringing back Ministry of Aviation and Ministry of Transport. I thought government should have gone further by adding railway as well to that, to consolidate, because it is important for the coordination of these things to be done at a central location to enhance work. So, Mr. Speaker, they've done 50%. Maybe in the future they can add railway. Mr. Speaker, obviously, the ministry has got major programs that they've been doing. If I start from aviation, this House has been very proactive, and under the chairmanship of my very good friend, Honorable Ayepe, we did produce or revise few of the laws or legislation around aviation, the air navigation, and all those things. And all those things have enhanced our status as an aviation hub. It's not a fluke that we've been named as the second best airport in Africa, Mr. Speaker. It took investment, it took commitment, and though he's not here, I would like him to go into the record that he's been part of this, Honorable IAP, for the whatever I've talked. Mr. Speaker, with the replacement of, if you go to page 6 or 15, the first line, replacement of aging communication, navigation, and surveillance equipment at Tamale Ho and Kumasi airports. Well, there isn't any at Ho yet, so it's not a replacement. It's a new thing that is going to be put there. Mr. Speaker, government is intending to expand aviation in the country, Mr. Speaker, but we need to be cautious how we do this. The Ho airport is still not activated yet. I hear government saying they are going to go to Cape Coast. That is fine. If we can get airport in every region, I don't have a problem, provided we can fund it, because the funding of Terminal 3, Ho, Tamale, and Kumasi, which was one of the 400 million we took on the back of the balance sheet of Ghana Airport Company, are outstanding. So when we are unable to pay existing debt and want to add more, well, that is government's decision. We would support them if that's what they want to do. Mr. Speaker, the building of the development of the integrated logistic terminal at Buankra, this House passed the agreement. But Mr. Speaker, that project becomes successful if it's linked with railway. Because if we move all these goods from Tema or the Takrady and want to put them on the roads, I'm not sure the road minister is going to be happy. So we want to see the building of the railway to be in tandem with the building of the integrated logistic hub so that by the time it's completed, it can be fully utilized. I heard my chairman talking about the Ministry of Finance reimbursing DVLA for the printing of the road worthy stickers. Mr. Speaker, there's a third way. Let's do what the insurance companies do. They don't print those things anymore. By the look of your registration plate, they know whether your vehicle is insured or not. So instead of spending money printing these things, let's remove the printing completely, do what the insurance companies do, and use technology to enhance that. That whole money that we are using on printing can become something that we can use to do other things. So though it's in the report, I've always said that the way forward is not to pay anything at all, but to use technology to enhance this. Mr. Speaker, on page 12 or 15, the Minister implementation of government-backed private sector-led lease to own financing arrangement. Yes, I can see the Minister trying to do something, but the point is, what is in the budget for this? Which one are we talking about? Is it a promise? The Minister, is it about this one? That government won't legalize risky Okada and then you put, is that the beginning of it? Where is it in the budget? Mr. Speaker, if you go to page 13 or 15, you will see the same thing the Minister is promising, that they will not legalize Okada. I agree with him. That's a policy decision. But the Okada riders in Adaklu are waiting for when you instruct them to come for the vehicles on work and pay. So that should have been in the budget, that we have provided budget line to provide Okada drivers and trotro drivers new vehicles. Where is it in the budget? Or it was just something Dr. Baumia said on the campaign trail. But it's a significant government policy. So Okada riders and trotro drivers are waiting for you for the policy and the implementation of it. Yes, because VW, we were told VW was manufacturing cars in this country. We saw what they were doing at the airport. They manufactured the vehicles in Germany. They take off the tires and the engines, and then they fix them back. In fact, if that is a car manufacturing, a car assembly plant, then we have 2,000 of them already. Because even at the back here, you can get your engine removed and replaced. You can get your tires changed. So where is the vehicle? Mr. Speaker, I actually went to VW that I wanted to buy a car. They don't have any car to sell. They don't have the cars to sell because they did those things during the campaign time, brought polos. Yes, Mr. Speaker, the polos are not there. I'm telling you, if you go to VW today, the polos they were using for politics, tell today, I'll tell you they don't have one.
I don't know which fact you have.
Mr. Speaker.
But I have them, they are things on my desk now. I went there, selected, you come to my office now. They are invoiced.
Mr. Speaker, just last week, I said I wanted to buy a polo, the 60-something thousand one. They told me they don't have one.
Yeah,
so I'm saying that, but
because
last year,
I bought the last one.
They brought them to coincide with when government was making the policy. But now that the campaign is over, VW, show us where the VW polos are. I want to buy one this evening. Show me where I can buy one this evening. I'll pay for it cash. Mr. Speaker, I agree with my chairman very well. The committee feels that the 30% that government want to take on fuel, I am not personally entirely against it, but I'm against it on principle. When you take money off drivers and put it into something that benefits them, it is reasonable. Now, if you take 30% and give some to do sanitation, and National Road Safety, which is an organization that needed to be enhanced as in the report, and you don't give them anything, Mr. Speaker, I don't think it's right. So I support the chairman when he says that at least 5% of that money should be put into the National Road Safety Authority so they can expand as required to deal with the carnage on our roads. Mr. Speaker, if that is done, maybe I will consider supporting this. Mr. Speaker, MMT, Mr. Speaker, that's Metro Mass. We who live in the villages, who don't have Uber, who don't have taxi, our savior is Metro Mass. It provides a very vital service
to us in the hinterland. Mr. Speaker, indeed, this House has taken loans to buy buses before. The current minister also added a fleet of 100, promising to add another 100. Mr. Speaker, they needed buses in excess of 600. The only reason Metro Mass is unable to buy these buses is simply because, Mr. Speaker, we've tried and we are expecting them to excel. Mr. Speaker, to surprise you to know that today, when Metro Mass goes to buy fuel to fuel their vehicles and go from maybe Tama Station to Adenta, when they come back, they can't even recover the cost of the fuel. If that is what government need to do, then government need to support them by reducing the taxes they pay on fuel or actually buy them the fuel. But at this rate, the company will surely collapse. Why don't we do what we did for STC? When we allow them to charge at least a fare that is going to be able to make them meet today, STC doesn't come to this house to get buses now. They buy their own buses. We don't know anything about what they are doing in terms of that, but it's a viable business today. Why can't we allow Metro Mass to charge a fare that is recovery? We are not telling them to become a company that is for profit. At least they should break even. And if we do that, Mr. Speaker, that will be the day we see Metro Mass being an enhanced transport company. But currently what they are doing, it is not sustainable. And I encourage government to be bold, to come up with a system that let them recover at least their costs for them to be able to go to the places that we need them. Mr. Speaker, home-based career. Mr. Speaker, just yesterday, I had cause to speak to the media about the behavior of British Airways. When they decided to take Ghana from a flight originating from Ghana, would no longer go to Heathrow, but will go to Gatwick. Mr. Speaker, not long ago, we were all flying into Heathrow Terminal 5, the flagship terminal. Then they decided to take Ghana to Terminal 3. We complained. The President himself had cause to complain about the quality of service British Airways was giving. The former minister, Madam Cecilia Dapa, we were in a meeting and he admonished them. I had cause to stay on the tarmac from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. before, because the British Airways, knowing very well that if we are at the gate, they will have to disembark us and put us in a hotel. We stayed in the plane to 2 a.m. So I think that the goodwill of Ghana between us and British Airways, they are taking, it's become bad faith today. And that is why I'm saying that the bringing on of a national carrier is very important, because there's only one direct route, a flight from Accra to London. But I encourage government, we should not accept what they wanted to do. They told Ghana government that they have stopped the thing. But Mr. Speaker, attempt booking a flight from Ghana into London after 31st October and see what they will do to you. You will automatically be routed to Gatwick, which means that they have implemented this program without the knowledge of government. That is very bad faith between them and us. It's simply because it's a monopoly. So I encourage government to come up with a national carrier. However, do this marriage as a marriage of convenience. Don't do it with somebody who will turn around and ignore your dissent. And what I'm hearing about Egypt, I keep warning, Ghana is a much more stable country than Egypt. Please be sure that they will remain stable whenever we use them as a hub. I don't know why we decided to leave Ethiopian Airlines. I don't know. Maybe the negotiators know better. But we encourage you to do anything that will bring a national carrier. We need it urgently to be able to enhance our own image and to improve business. With these few words, I encourage colleagues to approve this budget, to allow the minister and his team implement the necessary projects that will enhance transportation in this country. With these few words, Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, Honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Kofi Mafo, Achansi constituency. Mr. Speaker, I want to start by saying that I, with my chairman, and I supported the motion in full. Mr. Speaker, let me move to the development of an integrated logistics terminal at Buankra. Mr. Speaker, as Rankin said, it's very important for us to have this particular project. It's a 30-year concession agreement between Shippers Authority and Ashanti Port Services Limited. Mr. Speaker, it has three components, and these three components are very important. The first one is to decongest the Tema Port if Buankra integrated terminal comes in operation. We are talking of decongesting because as we speak, the Terminal 3 Tema Port is in progress and it is working. But unfortunately, the turnaround time is still very high because of the terminal, the way the terminal is. And then two, Mr. Speaker, the Takoradi project, the expansion that is being done by Ibistec Limited is also ongoing. But unfortunately, it is not completed. And if it is completed, we will still need a Buankra port. Mr. Speaker, the second reason for getting the Buankra port is the transit trade. Mr. Speaker, to facilitate the transit trade system from Tema or from Ghana to the landlocked countries like Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. We need that strategic terminal so that it will also facilitate the movement of goods from Tema Port to the landlocked countries. And it is quite important that if you are getting this concession agreement that is giving us 30-year agreement, it is very important that we go with it. Mr. Speaker, the final one for Buankra is the industrial hub that we are expected to have there when the port is in session. Mr. Speaker, it is important that our people, our teeming masses, also get opportunity to have employment when the project is completed. So I urge members to agree to approve of this budget. Mr. Speaker, talking about Metro Mass Transit, my colleague, the ranking member, mentioned it. But I believe that it is important that the social services that they are providing, we as MPs also support them, because these projects go a long way to help us socially in our various constituencies. So I want to urge members to support the Metro Mass system or the Metro Mass Transit operations, so that at the end of the day, we also enjoy the benefit of their social services. Mr. Speaker, with this, I want to urge members to approve this estimate. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I rise in support of this motion. And Mr. Speaker, I'd like to remind the Minister that the airline for the National Road Safety Authority is needed and needed like yesterday. From Accra to Takoradi, that is one of the high accident-prone areas, because we have so many issues on this road. Unlike the Accra-Kumasi road, part of it is dualized, and they have passing lanes. From here to Takoradi, no passing lane. Now, on a good day, it can take you 5 hours from here to Cape Coast. So you struggle through Kaswa. As for Budumburam, I won't talk about it. And when they hear the sirens, that's when all the cars come to the middle of the road, that they want to block you. Then you struggle to Winneba Junction. So the slightest opportunity that a driver gets, you want to overtake. And that is why we have these problems. If you could have a passing lane, I'm sure Ministry of Roads also can help you. After Manchester, there are so many unnecessary speed ramps, and you don't have the chance to overtake. And at night, between 6:30 and 7 o'clock, or 6:30 and 7:30, some of those speed ramps don't have any warning that they are there. Some of them too, the signs have been removed, either through accident or anything else. So we need National Road Safety to be around to help us reduce some of these accidents. My second one is about the landing beaches. And Mr. Speaker, if you look at the report on page 11 about these landing beaches, the one at the very bottom, which is Elmina, the rate of completion, they have completed 0.5%. But this is where history helps us. In 1972, we had a president called President Edward Akufo-Addo. He went to this same Elmina with Mr. J.H. Benson at the castle, and they promised them a landing beach. Now, that one was supposed to be a fishing harbor. That was 1972. Then came President John J.J. Rawlings. He also went to the same place and promised a landing beach. Then we had President Kufuor, who went to the same place and promised us a landing beach. When President Atta Mills came in, he said, I'm not going to make any promises I can't keep. Now we sent President Akufo-Addo to the same place. Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker. Then we sent President Akufo-Addo to this. His father was in 1972, and also promised us a landing beach. Now, if we're talking about these landing beaches, I would have preferred to see the Elmina. Our landing beaches may be about 30 or 40% complete. It's 0.5. Now, the same president comes to Cape Coast to promise us an airport. Yeah, from the 10. So, Mr. President, I will support this motion, but at least when it comes to the Elmina landing beach, Elmina, which is the biggest fishing, capital in Ghana, as Honorable Howard Kunsu. We need to build this landing beach. So, Mr. Speaker, if we could remind the minister that he should try and fulfill what President Edward Akufo-Addo promised Elmina, 1972. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, I'm bringing it to a close, so I'll wind up and I'll put a question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would like to thank members for their contribution, criticism, and advice they've given to me and the government. I would like to assure them that I've taken them into consideration, and going forward, we will include them in our implementation program. Mr. Speaker, I would like to remind the Honourable Member, His Excellency, MP4 Edna, that he knows that the Elmina fishing project is ongoing. He knows, yes, the records may say that, Mr. Speaker, this record is September last year. These are the figures you are using. But currently, he knows that the job that we've done is more than the 5% that he's talking about. Mr. Speaker, last year, this House approved a loan of 120 million euro for this project. The Honourable Member did not, in his presentation, say that in those years, loan facilities were approved and they were never used, unless government went for loan and they did not use it for that project. So far as the NADU is concerned, we have come to this House for a facility of $120 million No, it is not part of the CDB. This loan is Belgium, first Belgium. And this House approved the facility for us. Mr. Speaker, you know that the consultant is on site doing the work. Yes, the figures here, like I said, is 0.5. That is pertaining to December last year. All those figures, Mr. Speaker, when I got to the committee, I told them that the figures here are as of December, the percentage is as of December last year, and that we've done more than the percentage stated on the report. And because the consultant have not brought the new figures, the new percentage where we are, that is what I'm not including in it. And the honorable member knows that. He's a member of the committee. He knows that the job that the people have done is more than 5%.
Yes, move on. You've made that.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, I would like to respond to one thing by the ranking member. Mr. Speaker, as early this year, the British Airways Group came to see me on moving, or the issue of moving Ghana from Heathrow to Gatwick. Mr. Speaker, our position to them was no. That is government position. They said they were going to London and you will hear from them. Mr. Speaker, I wouldn't want to act or respond on a newspaper report. The agreement between them when they came was that whatever be their position, they should communicate to government, and I will be able to respond officially to them. So I would like to assure this House, Mr. Speaker, honorable member, the speaker listens to member on his feet, not those on his seat. So please allow me to speak. So, Mr. Speaker, I would like to assure the House that the government will not relent on our decision of remaining in Heathrow. But how will we want to respond to a newspaper report? I'm sure that whatever decision British Airways want to take, they will communicate to government, and by that time, government will give them a befitting response. So based on those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, House, for the opportunity given to us, and I'm urging you to approve this budget for us so that we can pursue our programs and policies. The sum of the budget and Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
At the conclusion of the debate, the question is all in favor of the motion, say aye. All against, say no. The ayes have it. The motion is carried. This House has approved the sum of 657,839,197 Ghana cedis for the services of the Ministry of Transport for the year ending 31st December 2021. The second Deputy Speaker to take the chair.
Mr. Speaker, just to lay a paper. 6H. Page 4.
Very well. 6H. We are the chairman of the committee. Yes, you may lay the report.
Report of the Committee on Foreign Affairs on the annual budget estimate of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration for the year ending 31st December 2021.
The report is duly laid for distribution to members. Yes.
The Speaker was just inquiring, and the other reports are not ready. And those of them that are ready are still sitting. And so I think it will be difficult to consider those reports. And that being the case, I would plead that we take an adjournment, and then we'll meet tomorrow.
Yes, minority leadership.
I think that the minority have no problem. We support the motion.
Very well. The House is accordingly adjourned to Wednesday, 24th March 2021 at 10 o'clock in the forenoon.